and grounds it foul outside first, and the count 0-2.
Well, John with 128 strikeouts during the season, and I think that kind of exemplifies what kind of strike zone he has. A very big strike zone, chases a lot of bad pitches, but when you throw him strikes, you're doing him a favor. And of course, Darling wants to keep the ball out of the center of the plate.
1-2.
I think your very simple definition of pitching, Jim, certainly applies to John Shelby. Stay ahead and expand the strike zone. That is a great philosophy on pitching.
Two and two with Marshall at first base. Nobody out. Second inning, no score.
Well, even a great hitter like Wade Boggs will expand the strike zone with 2 strikes. Now, of course, he has so much self-confidence, he feels he can still hit in that situation. He'll take a lot of pitches because he wants to see a lot of the movement on the ball, the break on the curveball, how the split finger fastball goes or whatever. But most hitters expand the strike zone with 2 strikes.
And it's 3-2. So Darling went 0-2 and lost Marshall, and now went 0-2 with Shelby, and he's 3-2.
Good discipline by John. That was a good split finger fastball.
Now you've got a case of Marshall at first base without real good speed and a non-contact man at the plate. And so Marshall stays, and the pitch is ball 4. And for Darling, he begins the inning by going 0-2 on the first 2 batters and walking both. So the Dodgers have runners at first and second with nobody out, and Mike Scioscia is the batter. So now with Scioscia coming up, the Mets have to think about the bunt. Hamilton is on deck. Scioscia wants him off Atano to run through the signs again. There's Jeffrey shortened up at third.
Darling led the Mets pitchers, their starters, in double plays with 20, and he needs one now.
And the runners go, and it's fouled away off to the left, 0-1.
That's a hit and run. That's something you often talk about in spring training and rarely use during the season. Think about the logic to that play. Darling has been struggling, and now runners are taking off, and he has got his best contact hitter up there, Mike Scioscia, who struck out only 31 times this year. Such a logical play. Darling trying to throw a strike after walking 2 hitters.
Now he bunts, and it's a beauty up the first baseline, and Hernandez has to flip it and flips it by Backman. Marshall will come in to score as Backman chases it down. Shelby stops at third, and down to second goes Scioscia. So the Mets very much expecting Scioscia to swing away with Hernandez playing back at first base, and then charging and flipping it behind Backman, and the Dodgers take advantage and lead 1-0.
This is a play so rarely you'll see a first baseman have to make. You see a second baseman, a shortstop sometimes having to do it. Hernandez, 10 gold gloves. That's a rarity. Very difficult play, and the reason was, I think, that Scioscia surprised them where they bunted the ball. Normally in that situation, you bunt the ball down the third baseline, and that's where Darling broke.
It's just a matter of the Mets infield being outfoxed 2 times. The hit and run on the first pitch, and now Scioscia bunting the ball down to Hernandez, who normally would be in a shallower depth in that situation.
So Hamilton is at the plate. It scored a single and an error on Hernandez. And Hamilton fouls it away. So a base hit for Scioscia, an error on Hernandez, no run batted in, and the Dodgers lead it 1-0. Joey Amalfitano, the third base coach.
The squeeze right now more remote than it would be if there were 1 out. With nobody out, there are a lot of ways that you can score a runner without having to resort to the squeeze play. Fly ball, ground out.
Exactly. One way here is a grounder to short or second with the infield playing back.
Right.
1-1. So there's the Mets alignment. They're going to give up another run on a ground ball.
And actually, Ron Darling would take a look at Davey Johnson. Cannot be real happy what he's seen. His pitcher, who has had excellent control this year, the last couple of years, has averaged about 4 walks per 9 innings. This year, about 2.5 walks the first 2 guys, and then a guy that won 10 gold gloves makes an error. But you're thinking Ron Darling, one run. You'll give him another run, stay away from the big inning, even though you're pitching against a guy like Hershiser who's on a hot streak. You can't allow them to have a big inning. Not early in the ball game in these conditions.
And he walked 2 after getting ahead on both hitters, 0-2. 2-1 the count on Hamilton. And he hits a one-hopper, backhanded by Backman. That'll score a run. So Hamilton grounds out, but Shelby comes in to score. And on the play, Scioscia advances to third. Lasorda loves to squeeze in situations such as this upcoming here, with a runner at third and 1 out, and Alfredo Griffin at the plate.
Think about what kind of out that was by Hamilton. Not only did he score the run, but he pushes Scioscia to third base with this rope to second. A nice play by Backman. So Hamilton, really, 2 objectives there. One to score the run for an RBI, the other to push Scioscia to third, and now the possibility of the squeeze.
Infield plays in, and Griffin up there to swing away and misses. There's a big difference in Hamilton grounding out to second as opposed to grounding out to short.
Right.
In that case, if he grounds out to short, the runner at second probably remains at second, even though the run scores. By grounding it to the right side, as Tim says, he does 2 things. And forces the Mets to bring the infield in. Dodgers on top 2-0. 1 out. Breaking pitch is fouled away, and the count is 0-2.
That appeared to be the first breaking pitch that he has thrown all day. So you go back to that first game, what made Griffin be able to drive in the second run off Griffin? Same situation. Brought the infield in. He hit a ball off his fist. It may have been an out to the second baseman because of the infield playing in, and looped into right field for the second Dodger run. And Hamilton clearly intentionally tried to do what he did. Inside out swing.
Away, and the count 1-2 as partner bluffs to throw to third.
Of course, pitching in the wind is a lot like sometimes playing golf when it's windy. Take a look at an 0-2 pitch, split-fingered fastball. Watch that ball kind of just move down and away, a little bit outside the strike zone. Again, that's a luxury you have when you have an 0-2 count, but it has not worked to Darling's benefit this inning.
Darling bluffing a move toward third. Amalfitano going through the signs. The Dodgers have squeezed with 2 strikes.
The reason that you're taking more of a chance, however, in this situation is that you can pitch out and it won't hurt the Mets. It's still 2-2. If it gets to 3-2, though, watch out.
And he swings and misses, and down he goes. So Griffin strikes out. Scioscia still at third, and that's 2 out now, and the infield can go back to normal depth as Oral Hershiser comes to the plate.
This is what I call getting a hitter off balance. Look how he's out on his, really on his toes, trying to stay back, but look, his hands come forward, body comes forward, well before the pitch is there.
The Goodyear Blimp Enterprise on this raw day in New York. Light rain falling, 2-0. The Dodgers on top at the end of 1.5. I asked Dave, 2 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, no hits, and 1 error for the Mets. Hershiser works on Darling, who fouls it away in the count 0-1. Darling, then the top of the order, Mookie Wilson and Greg Jeffries.
Nice batting average by Darling, 3 for 3 the last day to get it to 220. I think it would behoove him to get a hit here to trailing 3-0.
One and two. Again, the Dodger run in the top of the third, when you examine it, Sachs that single, and then Carter drops the ball, and Hatcher swings at a pitch above his head. Sachs steals second as Darling strikes out 1 away, and then the 2 ground outs netting the Dodgers a third run. Earlier, Davey Johnson felt the Dodgers had the advantage because of last night's rainout, the extra rest for Tudor. What does Lasorda think about that?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, Tudor was ready to pitch yesterday. I don't know how well he's going to be. This is something that we're going to have to see tomorrow, as I said before. I don't know where the advantage lies. I really don't, Al. When you start thinking about a rained-out game and that the advantage goes with you, believe me, in most cases it always backfires on you. So I'm going to just say right now that we're very, very happy that we can have Oral today and then again if we need it.
And right now, particularly happy because Oral Hershiser has a 3-0 lead with 1 out. Bases empty in the bottom of the 3rd inning.
He is wasting no time delivering the ball. You give a guy like that 3-0 who's on a roll,
right.
and he is going to pitch very, very quickly because he knows what he has to do.
And the Mets, I mean, they gift-wrapped that Dodger run in the 3rd inning. Down 2-0 with a runner at 3rd and 1 out, and Gibson at the plate with the infield back.
Occasionally you have to take a risk, and of course there is a risk. You know, if he does hit a single through a drawn infield, he may steal second, but it is raining. You give him another run, and I've been in this position. It makes you relax a little bit more on the mound.
Well, I think the key is with Hershiser pitching and the way that the Mets have been hitting. I mean, the Mets have scored 3 runs in both games. And there's Hershiser, who's not allowed more than 4 runs in a game in his last 10 starts.
Lasorda will definitely enjoy dinner tonight with a victory in Game 3 because he would know not only would it be up in the series 2-1, but if it went 7, he's got his man back on the mound as Wilson hits his foul off to the left. So it's still 2-2. 1 out, bases empty, bottom of the 3rd inning. Again, you'd have to play 5 innings to make it an official game. We still have a steady rain, but a very light rain. The type of rain you can play through as Wilson strikes out, but it rolls away from Scioscia, and Mookie gets the break. Hershiser's second strikeout is a wild pitch that enables Wilson to reach. So 1 on and 1 out, and Jeffrey's the batter.
You can't strike somebody out with a wild pitch, and here's a perfect example. The ball about 59 feet, well in front of home plate. Scioscia makes a nice try, but the ball spins away from him.
In the 59th consecutive scoreless inning, Marvell Wynn of the San Diego Padres got on to lead off the 10th inning in that exact fashion.
And Hershiser had to bear down to take care of the Padres and stranded a man at 3rd to break Drysdale's record. Jeffries at the plate. 1-0 the count. Wilson 15 steals in 19 attempts. But again, with all of the rain yesterday, even though the field was covered in the rain so far, a very muddy infield. A broken bat, 1-hopper through the middle for a base hit. Wilson will stop at 2nd. The Mets with their first hit, and runners at 1st and 2nd, and Jeffries is now 5 for 8 in the playoffs.
And another fastball. And it's up. And Hershiser, sinker baller, cannot pitch Jeffries there, or really any of the Met hitters. Again, you got to give Jeffries a lot of credit. He hits the ball right where it's pitched. If it's away, he goes to left. If it's inside, he's quick enough bat to pull it. Tommy hawked that ball.
Everybody talks about the pressure of the playoffs. Well, obviously, Jeffries hasn't felt that yet.
Even though he admitted he was as nervous as he's ever been prior to Game 1. Hernandez now with runners at 1st and 2nd and 1 out. Dodgers leading 3-0 in the bottom of the 3rd. Chopper foul, 0-1. Jeffries not only with 5 hits in the series, he's 4 for 5 against Hershiser plus a walk. field and deep. Backing up is Gibson and makes the catch at the wall. And the runners retreat. So Hernandez gives it a ride to deep left center field, but it stays in near the 371 mark.
What we talked about before the game, that when he usually hits the ball that way, he has enough hang time, and here you see the swing. He drives this ball, but he hits it in the air. Now last year, a little liver ball, the ball might have gone out. You can see right here, the ball is up in the air. Gibson has time to run under it, makes a nice catch. I'm sure he really knew where the fence was, but he hung with it for the second out.
Tell you, fly balls are no routine outs today because you got that wind and rain whipping down on your eyes. Look up there, you'd think there are a million balls in the air.
Strawberry takes a strike. 0-1.
One thing to point out, when Hershiser starts throwing a lot of fly balls, that means he is not making the pitches that he wants to make. Many more ground balls than fly balls. 1.8 percentage. He throws 1.8 more fly balls or ground balls than he does fly balls. So when he gets the ball up and you see the ball going in the air, he is not throwing the sinker that he wants to throw.
That was only the second ball hit in the air by the Mets. McReynolds popped out in the first inning. And Hernandez driving one to left here. Everything else has been on the ground. One pitch, just missing. 2-1.
3 straight fastballs inside the Strawberry. And this ball tailing back over the inside part of the plate. That mound is really getting shaky now. Watch his left foot. See that sliding? Now, Jim, that's the worst thing that could happen to a mound, that wet mound.
Get into the right field corner for extra bases. Mookie Wilson comes in to score. Jeffries is being held at third on a double by Strawberry. It's 3-1.
Strawberry with the clutch double in the 9th inning of game 1 comes through again. Another curveball, interestingly. That's what he hit in the first game. Sam Palazzo came all the way down the line, and he did hold Greg Jeffries at third base. And even though Jeffries flipped, Steve Sachs was too far away to throw behind him.
Here's Jeffries again heading toward third base.
Watch Sam Palazzo, the third base coach, move up the line toward home plate. Now he disappears from your picture. What he's doing is see what develops on the right side with Steve Sachs. He would have sent Greg Jeffries had Sachs bobbled the ball. That's the luxury you have with a ball hit to the right side of the field that you don't have with a ball hit down the left field.
Because we will have played 5. A light rain falling, but again, the forecast calls for improvement. Supposed to be clearing up later this afternoon, so we shouldn't have any difficulty getting 9 in today.
Pardon me, Al, but in some respects, it's lighter now than it was an hour and a half ago.
Here's Darling leading off in the bottom of the 5th inning, taking a strike in the count 0-1. Darling, Wilson, and Jeffrey. One and one to count. Tomorrow, night game, 8 Eastern time, game 4. John Tudor gets the start for Los Angeles, and Dwight Gooden for the Mets. 2-1. And again, because of the rain out last night, 15 pushed back to Monday afternoon, noon Eastern time, Monday. 2-2.
It's interesting. Third game, third umpire, all different strike zones. Appears that Joe West has a little bit more of a higher strike zone than for National League umpires.
Hammers at it, doesn't get it, and down he goes. So Darling strikes out for the second time. That's 4 strikeouts now for Hershiser. And there, of course, is Gooden on the left and Strawberry on the right. Looking on with 1 out of the bottom of the 5th inning, and Mookie Wilson coming to the plate. That strikeout, he's 0 for 2, was on a wild pitch in the third inning, and he has scored the Mets' only run today. He hits it down the line in left field. Gibson having trouble and somehow makes the catch. One for the all-time highlight reel right there. Kirk Gibson slipping and sliding and somehow unbelievably making the catch. I didn't think he had a prayer as he was going down.
That's a credit to his athletic ability right there. And the somehow is the key word here, Al. And you can see for yourself, somehow he keeps going. I mean, stumbling, falling.
I didn't think he'd get his glove back up.
But look at the concentration. Look at him watch the ball into the glove. Oh. You know, last night during that rain delay talking about him being a receiver at Michigan State. And he was talking about the fact that, and I mentioned, I said, it really seemed to me you had to learn how to play this game. And he said, I didn't have to do that in football. But there, I mean, you're not a receiver if you don't watch the ball into your hands. And right there, he did it into his glove.
He stayed in bounds.
Yes, sir. Touchdown. 2 out, and Jeffries at the plate. Upon further review, the play stands. Fly out to left. Hit sharply on a hop to Hatcher, and this game is now official. Mets gone in order. To the 6th we go in game 3. It's the Dodgers 3 and the Mets 1.
Baby, it's cold.
The National League Championship Series, brought to you by Stroh's and Stroh Light. Fire brewed for smooth, consistent taste. Stroh's is spoken here.
Kirk Gibson, it's going to be a great feeling. You come back to the dugout and describe the play to all of your teammates. And there he was reaching back. Remember, he came in with that hamstring pull having bothered him for a month. He just wanted to make sure everything was all right.
Tell you, when Kirk came back in the dugout, who approaches him but Mickey Hatcher?
Your blimp hovering high above Shea Stadium as we get set to go to the bottom of the 6th inning. And in between innings, Oral Hershiser.
He thinks it's a beer league game. Look at this guy. You talk about loose. What playoff pressure?
He did say that he wants the ball in the big games, and this is a big game. I mean, not just because it's a playoff game, but if you're sitting on the bench, you're going to pitch tomorrow night, and you're John Tudor. Do you want him to win tonight or this afternoon or not? And, of course, the same thing goes for Dwight Gooden. And he wants to see his team come back and score some runs and make him be a little more relaxed when he goes out there.
Keith Hernandez starts the bottom of the 6th inning. He'll be followed by Strawberry and McReynolds. 1-0 the count.
I mean, Oral talks about how he's going through the minor league system. He was more of a suspect than a prospect. Light, wore glasses.
1-1. And we talked about the Lasorda influence the other night. The nicknaming of Hershiser, Bulldog, to try to change his approach. 2-1 the count. Center field. So Keith Hernandez starts the bottom of the 6th inning with a single. It's the first time in the game the Mets have had the leadoff man on. And it brings up Darryl Strawberry.
That's the difference in the game so far. The Mets have had the leadoff runner on in 1 inning, and the Dodgers in 4 of 6.
And in 2 of those 4,
but when you're 2-1 and throw the fastball to Hernandez, you're asking for trouble.
Now Strawberry takes the strike, and the Dodger bullpen will get busy again. And this time for a different reason. Lasorda had it busy to give himself an option in the bottom of the 5th. But now he's got him up back of Hershiser because the Mets have started the bottom of the 6th inning with a Hernandez single. Strawberry at the plate. The count is 1-1. And that's Pena up again. And Rick Horton, the lefty, throwing. Strike, 1 and 2.
He's thrown in 3 fastballs, and as we mentioned before, Strawberry hurt him with a curveball earlier in this game and in game 1 in the 9th inning. So he is stuck with a fastball. Let's see if he comes back inside with a fastball. Yes, sir.
And it hits the left field, curling away from Gibson, dropping for a base hit. Hernandez stumbles, rounding second, falls down, throw comes back to second, now to third. Time there. Hernandez tried to swim his way into the bag. He stumbled, rounding second, fell down, got up, throw came into stacks with Strawberry sliding into second. Steve decided to throw back to third, and they get Hernandez trying to dive into the bag in quicksand.
Hernandez had the right idea by wanting to go to third. Crawls into third base. They have him by, I think, the length of a finger.
And Hamilton takes the bag away from him with his foot. Enough of it anyway. So the Dodgers get a big break. Strawberry at second with 1 out, and McReynolds gets a grounder to Hamilton. He looks Strawberry back, and Hatcher can't dig it out. He's off the bag. He was able to dig it out of the dirt, but the first base umpire, Renner, says he came off the bag, and here comes Lasorda.
Either off the bag or he didn't have control. You got to have control when you're on the bag.
And Tommy wants to know firsthand. And now it's being said he cradled the ball.
He didn't have
Trapped
right.
between his glove and his chest, and that's not control.
Right.
And Bob Davidson, the second base umpire, coming in to tell Lasorda he didn't have possession of it. He cradled it.
Here it is one more time.
We are experiencing temporary difficulties with satellite transmission. Please stand by.
He caught the ball. It was grasped firmly to his chest, but he never had control. It squirted out.
You can
The
see
ball
it
squirted out.
coming out of his glove
Right.
and into his bare hand
Right.
as McReynolds crosses the bag.
Valiant effort by Hatcher. But he did not have control of the ball, an error on Hamilton.
He made the right play, keeping in front of him, and then tried to fool the umpire.
So it's an error, a throwing error, but a big bugaboo for the Dodgers down the stretch in September was defense and Stubbs had a lot of trouble. He made a lot of errors in September. And Hatcher, of course, is a baseman having trouble digging balls out.
Yeah, that was one of those in-between hops, however. The short hops are the ones closer to you. Those in-between hops that land somewhere in the torso area. Those are really tough to handle.
Johnson at the second. McReynolds at first with 1 out. And then grounded down to Stack. To Griffin 1, back to first, not in time, and only because the grass is so wet and the dirt is so muddy in the infield. Otherwise, that ball gets there a lot more quickly to Sachs, and they turn a 4-6-3. But it slowed it down enough so they could only get the fourth, and the inning is still alive.
And also a great slide by McReynolds into second base. Now see how aggressive he comes in. Griffin's going to have to jump over him right there. Doesn't get as much on the throw. Good speed by Hojo.
With 2 out, runners at first and third, and Gary Carter coming to the plate. Dodgers. Gary 0 for 2 today. Base hit into right field. Strawberry makes it 3-2. Griffin cuts the throw off. Johnson stops at third.
This is one of the zaniest, craziest innings I've ever seen in my life. One run is scored with all the animation on the bases. Hernandez being thrown out at third. The bobble at first base. And Carter going to right field. Just as unusual. Gary Carter doesn't do that but a handful of times all season. And trickles one through on the right side to score the second run for the Mets. Man.
So it's 3-2 and Backman at the plate. 2 out and 2 on.
Now the Mets have the crowd on their side. They haven't had the crowd up to now.
1-0.
They've had them on their side, but they've been very quiet and pensive.
Now Dave Magadan has come out on deck. If Backman prolongs the inning, Magadan would bat for Darling. 2-0 the count. Or if nothing else, they've just sent Magadan out there with the bullpen busy and McDowell getting ready to throw because they just don't want Darling standing out in the rain. So it could be a decoy, possibly. If nothing else, they want Darling back in the dugout. And Backman hits a ground ball off Hatcher's glove, and that's going to tie the game. And Lasorda, still furious over that call with Hatcher cradling it, has just seen the lead evaporate. And we talked in the first game and a little bit here, even though it wasn't necessarily applicable on that throw by Hamilton, but the right side of the infield, especially at first base, defensively has hurt the Dodgers down the stretch.
True. And that ball is going to be an out because it's hit slowly. Steve Sachs is playing. Now Hatcher does what his instincts tell him, but we're talking, and what you said earlier, Al, not a very good defensive first base position for the Dodgers, whether it's Duff or Hatcher. Dives for it, instincts take over, take another look from it from right field. Sachs is right behind that ball for the third out. Crazy inning.
It'll be scored a single and a run batted in, and Magadan bats for Darling. McDowell. So after a wild bottom of the sixth inning, and by the way, on Darryl Strawberry's ball, they give him a single. Gibson got an error on that play, allowing Strawberry to go to second. That was the play that ended with Hernandez falling down and being thrown out at third. So in the inning, 2 runs, 4 hits, and 2 Dodger errors, and a 3-3 tie as we go to the 7th inning at a rainy and brutally cold Shea Stadium in New York. Temperature still in the mid-40s. Game 3, the series even at a game apiece. The game tied 3-3, and in the 7th inning, Roger McDowell to the mound for the New York Mets. So Darling will get no decision after yielding 3 runs and 5 hits through 6. And it's Sachs, Hatcher, and Gibson coming up in the top of the 7th. Boy, so many things to mull over in that bottom of the 6th inning. Every little thing was magnified, including Howard Johnson's force play grounder, Grass slowing it down, and then McReynolds helping to eliminate any possibility of a double play with a hard slide at second. Backman's grounder off Hatcher's glove.
Yeah, the one thing that A slow ground ball will it'll allow the runner to get down on top of the shortstop of the second baseman and take him out. And that was a big play in that inning. Here's the ball Johnson hit with one out and runners at first and second. Watch the slide by McReynolds. As Al said, the grass holds up the ground ball, allowing McReynolds to get down and take out Alfredo Griffin. McReynolds slid a little bit out of the baseline, but as long as you can touch second base. Brings you back to Hershiser's consecutive scoreless innings when Brett Butler went out of the baseline.
And Paul Runge, who was umpiring today at third base, was the man who said he slid out of the baseline and enabled that streak to continue. So the game now in McDowell's hands. In the 7th inning, 2-1 the count on Steve Sack. 2-2.
McDowell, Mike Smith said, one of the great sinkers, very few breaking balls, great fielder. And he's a great fielder even in conditions like this, because normally he will land in a perfect fielding position, ready to go left or right.
Sack done on strike.
When you throw that sinker, you don't have to feel the ball. You want to get a good idea of how a ball sinks. Just watch the trajectory of some of his pitches. I mean, it looks like it's about a foot. And your job as a hitter is to try to lay off that, but it looks so tempting. Even when you hit it, you hit the top of the ball.
Hatcher. 1-0 the count.
The guys in this situation will tell you, you're going to move up in the box, try to get the ball before it sinks. And good sinker ballers just start making the ball down, down, down.
And when sinker ballers are tired, their sinker's a lot better, right? And Roger McDowell's tired. He's had about 3 hours sleep because he's been at the hospital with Karen McDowell. She gave birth to their first child yesterday. Logan Dean McDowell.
Backman throws Hatcher out. 2 down. So the new pop working here in the 7th. And he's the pitcher of record. And here comes Gibson, who's 1 for 3 today and 1 for 9 in the series.
An interesting thing what you said, Timmy. Here's a low ball hitter, and what McDowell, and even though McDowell knows he's a low ball hitter, his strength is the sinker. If he throws him belt high pitches, then he's pitching really to the benefit of Kirk Gibson. So what he'll do is just make him swing at sinkers that are a little bit lower than he'd like it, and the result should be a ground ball.
Sinker ball pitcher, it's a dangerous assignment when they have to pitch to Gibson. As you said, a low ball hitter. You get it down and in, he can hit it as far as anybody.
And here he is trying to bunt again.
I don't believe it. I just don't understand it.
I mean, I know Marshall's going good, and you want him to have a chance at bat, but not when you have home run capability.
There are 2 outs. That's the second time Kirk has tried to bunt with 2 outs and nobody on. And here it is again. I mean, certainly he has a chance to steal second base if he does get on, granted. But the odds are better for him to hit an extra base hit, especially against the sinker ball pitcher.
Especially against the best fielding pitcher in the National League, and so says Mike Smith. But this is a game of emotion. Sometimes they're not always right. I'll tell you what, if Kirk Gibson would bunt off me, I would go up and kiss him, but I'd give him a hug.
You've always been a little bizarre.
Yes. Well, you want, I mean, you know, here you are in a tie ball game. You want the home run hitters bunting. He's doing you a favor.
He really is.
2 outs, bases empty. And Gibson hits a fly ball to center field. Wilson started in. Now has to go back and has plenty of time to get there and make the catch. Looking up into the raindrops at the end of 6½. Dodgers 3, Mets 3. Funny how this one turns around. You know Lasorda is dying to, if he can, get Hershiser out of the game if they can rally and score a couple of runs, and that's why he had Pena in the bullpen. And in the best of circumstances, he might have had a 4-1 or a 5-1 or a 6-1 lead, and he'd have a more well-rested Hershiser, but it doesn't work out that way. He has to leave him in And now the game is tied as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning.
We've got to leave him in for two reasons. Number one, he's his best pitcher. Number two, he nicknamed him Bulldog. Bulldogs don't leave in this type of weather.
Mookie Wilson in the bottom of the 7th inning. 2-0 the count. Wilson, Jeffries, and Hernandez in a 3-3 tie. Strike, 2-1.
It's an interesting thing. You want them ready for Game 7, but on the same hand, you want to get to Game 7. And
that's the dilemma.
Yes.
That's a strike, and the count 2-2.
But you can see when you get a check swing on a 2-1 fastball in the 7th inning, that's an indication of how well he has continued to throw. He's throwing as well now as he was in the first inning.
Two and two. Dodger bullpen active again.
It's like Jesse Orozco is up, and whenever you see Orozco or Ricky Horton up, you think Hernandez and Strawberry are coming up in that inning, and that's the case here in the 7th.
And there's Pena throwing with him as well. 2-2 the count.
That brings up a good point, and a lot of people have suggested to Davey Johnson, something we really haven't touched on, that if you separated Hernandez and Strawberry, you may not make them as susceptible to left-handed pitching.
Sandwich McReynolds in between.
Exactly. And Davey said, I'm not sure that Darrell wouldn't take that as maybe something that he would not like and feel that it's a demeaning act.
He moved him into the number 4 spot last year to bolster his confidence, and he certainly did that. And for that same reason, he doesn't want to take him out of the 4 spot. Therein lies the dilemma.
Yep. 3-2 on Wilson.
Of course, the thing to look at is velocity is still good, but how about control? How about movement on the ball? How about making quality pitches? And you have to do that in the 7th inning to be successful.
And Wilson is on.
It's a pretty good pitch, except that all day long, again, going back, and it's not that Joe West missed that pitch. He has not given Hershiser the low pitch. Take a look right here. Look at the glove. A little bit off the plate. He tries to frame it, talking about Socia. Wilson, who does not walk a lot, takes it for ball 4. I tell you, tries to pull it. Results a ground ball to Sachs. Griffin turns it. And here's the key of the play right here. Mickey Hatcher, who trapped that ball earlier, comes up with it for the final out. Excellent play.
That was a terrific play by Mickey Hatcher. That in-between hop, whenever that hop ends up right around the waist, you know you have to have softer hands. That was right around the knees. Tough hop, good play.
Mainly going on a wet field. You don't know if the ball is going to skid, come up. He stabbed it.
Well, in the rain and the cold.
Bad on the quaff, too.
0-1 on Marshall, leading off in the 8th inning. And it's quickly 0-2. McDowell ahead on the Dodger cleanup hitter, who is 0 for 2 plus a walk today. And Marshall gone on 3 pitches. Strikeout number 2 for McDowell, who has come out of the bullpen to retire all 4 men he's faced. And it will bring up John Shelby.
Just take a look at how much this ball goes down. And this is the 3rd consecutive sinker diving. I mean, normally you see a pitch like that, it reminds me of Gaylord Perry, and it wasn't legal. For him to be able to have this ability, serious elbow injury, had surgery.
McDowell in his career, it's not a bad line. Going back to 1986, 1 hit in 9 2/3 innings.
And he had a very bad September. And when you asked Mel Stottlemyre, he said because the sinker wasn't sinking. A lot of pitches up in the strike zone. They have not been today, though.
The 0-2 pitch is softly hit back to McDowell, and McDowell falls down, and his throw gets by Hernandez. Backed up by Backman, as Sosa chugs into second. So he truly is as good a fielding pitcher as you'll see in baseball, but that's neutralized by wet grass. And a big break for the Dodgers.
The first pitcher we saw today, Ron Garling, Davey Johnson said he had a shortstop mentality. In other words, he'll get the balls to try to make play at any time. Watch him slip. This is where he makes a mistake. He thinks he can make the play from his knees and doesn't.
I would imagine Tommy Lasorda's going to have a pinch runner for Mike Socha. You're in the 8th inning, and Johnson looked at second. See that little hesitation, caught in between, and he just gets Steve Sachs at first base. Otherwise, it's a 6-3 game. It's a bang-bang play.
Jay Howell comes in to pitch. As Hershiser goes 7, and it's Orioles' game to win, with the Dodgers taking the lead. 4-3. Rick Dempsey is the new catcher. Gonzalez had gone into pinch run for Sosa. Tracy Woodson takes over at first base. And Mike Sharperson, who drew that bases-loaded walk, pinch hitting for Hershiser, remains in the game at shortstop. Howell, the loser in game 1, trying to save game 3. 1-0 the count.
And in losing that game, it all started when he walked McReynolds.
And here he's behind on 2 balls and no strikes. Kevin, during the regular season, 288 with 27 homers, 99 RBIs, but 0 for 10 in the playoffs. And it's 3-0.
Did not throw many fastballs for strike the other night. As a matter of fact, threw 8 straight curveballs to 2 successive hitters.
Johnson and Carter.
And they give him the green light, and it's 3-1.
Very interesting there. Has a very good fastball in terms of velocity. Over 90 miles per hour. Used to throw about 94 miles per hour on a slow radar gun when he was with the Yankees. Now that's before elbow surgery that he had last offseason.
Fouled away, and it's 3-2. I wonder if they gave him the green light, or did he not see a sign?
I would say they gave him the green light.
Yeah. And as the leadoff hitter in the bottom of the 8th inning, down by 1.
Trying to tie it with 1 swing.
Yep. Hot foul. Dempsey comes back, runs out of room. Still 3-2. Dempsey. Tight, tense ball game, but somebody said something that tickled him.
Davey Johnson asking to look at the ball or the glove, maybe, of Jay Howell.
And they want the crew chief, Harry Wendelstedt, to come in as well. Joe West is the plate umpire. Now, Lasorda wants to know what's going on. And so here's Wendelstedt, the crew chief, and he and West will examine Howell's glove, with Lasorda getting a first-hand look as well.
Well, the other night we were talking about when Alejandro Pena came in, and it did look like to be some foreign substance on the back of his glove. Maybe they're a little bit confused. Or maybe he picked up Pena's gloves in the bullpen. I doubt if that happened, though.
Now they're looking at the inside of the glove.
You notice Dempsey had his hand in there, and Joe West kind of slapped it out of the way.
And this comes with a count 3 balls and 2 strikes.
It's like a Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, as an umpire, you have to, number one, make a decision.
That threw him out of the ballgame.
Yeah, look at this. Can you believe this? But obviously they've got the evidence because that's only a very mild protest from Tommy Lasorda.
But also,
Look at this. Bart Giamatti, the National League president. Now Wendelstedt is going to take the glove over to Giamatti. And that's Ed Vargo behind Giamatti, who's the supervisor of umpires. Lee Mazzilli comes over for a first-hand look.
well, to be quite honest, Al,
Former National League president Chuck Feeney there as well.
not one pitch did anything that would make you believe that they had a foreign substance on it. I'm just talking from an umpire. Well, usually when you, as an umpire, you see the ball come up there, you could tell whether it's a spitter or it has Vaseline on it because the ball will react funny.
I wonder if Davy Johnson had any knowledge beforehand. I mean, usually, there you see Dempsey. Now, not that funny, I don't suppose. But, I mean, Davy Johnson, I would think, would have to have knowledge beforehand before going out there to check it. There's no way that Davy's going to go out there and say that those pitches did anything differently. And he just threw 5 pitches. The other night he was throwing a lot of curveballs.
Yep.
What's the indication? How did he know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. None of the balls acted funny.
No, they didn't go down. Usually, if
I
a
don't
ball
know.
has a foreign substance, it's going to dip.
Yes. Did he throw his glove out or did he throw Hal out?
Is he out just for the game
You know,
or for the playoffs?
in the regular season, he'd be suspended. I mean, that's the next question that has to be addressed here. He's thrown out of the game. Alejandro Pena will come in to pitch, but now the question becomes, what about the rest of the playoffs? And you'll recall the incident with Kevin Gross and the Joe Negro incident
Last year
with Minnesota.
Of course, what brought the umpire out in the Joe Negro incident was the ball did something funny. He went out there and examined. He found the file or the nail file in the back pocket. Kevin Gross, are you familiar with that, Timmy? I don't know if he defaced the ball.
There was sandpaper. There was
But was
sandpaper
the ball actually defaced?
The ball was scuffed, yes.
Well, there's
the ball
no
was
indication
scuffed.
of any of those things today, though.
Not from where Davy Johnson was. Joe West is out there. He called in Harry Wendelstedt, and Joe is checking the string. And it seemed that Harry went in to look for moisture, and he found it. He found something, but then he went back into the glove to look for more moisture. That might be one reason that Rick Dempsey was kind of reaching in there to take the glove away. What now, my glove?
Cheat is the chant. And this is unprecedented in that this has never happened, to my knowledge, in postseason. So now the question becomes, what about the rest of postseason action? And we'll try to get a clarification on that as soon as we can. That's Ed Vargo again behind Giamatti. Vargo is the National League supervisor of umpires.
What's so interesting is that Pena seemed to have a foreign substance on his glove on Wednesday night at Dodger Stadium. Now, I don't know if he changed gloves, but
You picked up on that the other night, and
Well,
we have just been told that the Mets knew on Wednesday night that Jay Howell had pine tar in his glove, and that's why they checked it today. They obviously have not told anybody, and we just found that out, that the Mets knew on Wednesday night that Jay Howell had pine tar in his glove.
And it's a very interesting thing, too. Johnson let the inning start. Howell went 3-0, so he wasn't going to say anything. It went to 3-1, so the count was still in McReynolds' favor, and then when it got to 3-2 is when Davey came out.
Davey's just asking what the count was. The count, we may start again with Pena. Maybe the count's not 3-2 now.
well, if you throw
That's what Davey was saying.
if you throw a defaced ball, the rule book says that the ball becomes a ball, and you warn him once, and then you throw him out of the ball game. Now, he has not thrown a defaced ball as far as my knowledge is, so I don't know if
We'll see.
if the last pitch is the ball or not. Again, that's the umpires have to make that ruling.
Now we are also more lucid as to why Kevin McReynolds was swinging 3-0.
Absolutely. That tells you the story right there. That's exactly right.
He pops one out of the ballpark, big deal.
Yep.
Let him keep pitching until he gets the guy out.
And it's funny because the last pitch was a foul ball. So in other words, they couldn't check for a defaced ball. But what you're saying, Tim, it's absolutely right. Had McReynolds popped out, they would have looked at the ball, found the pine tar on the ball, so McReynolds would not have been out. That last pitch, the ball wound up back in the seat as a foul ball.
Right. The only exception to what you just said, Al, is that pine tar does not really go on the ball all the time. What it does, and I've seen a lot of pitchers use it, they said Paranovsky was one of the greatest. I mean, everybody felt the reason he had such a great curveball is because he used pine tar, which gives you a better feel on your curveball and a tighter spin.
The late Bob Moose, he couldn't shake hands till November. He had so much pine tar on his hands for 8 months.
So meanwhile, back to the game where it's 4-3 Dodgers. The count is 3-2, and now it's ball 4. So there's Howell, vanished from the game. McReynolds draws a leadoff walk here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Howard Johnson comes to the plate. 0 for 10 in the series.
Well, the other pine tar incident in New York City was
Right.
George Brett.
The bat,
Yeah, the bat.
which eventually resulted in Kansas City coming back to finish the game later that season against the Yankees.
So so now it's 1-1. One bat, one glove here in New York with the pine tar.
Man, Pena working on Johnson. Around the bunt, misses, strike 1. Perlazo ready to send down the sign from third. Think there have been enough little twists and turns today? Oh, boy. In the air, Pena and Woodson, they let it drop, but it won't cost them because Woodson will get credit for the out. He's going to make the tag here as they erase McReynolds. In a sense, well, both are pretty good base runners. It really doesn't matter, McReynolds or Johnson at first base.
It is a good play by Woodson. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, again, it's good because he hopes that McReynolds will try to make a belated dash. He doesn't. Kevin plays it well, and I guess if you look at Kevin's record, 21 steals out of 21 attempts this year, heady base running by Kevin.
And a poor bunt by Johnson, and no wonder. That's his first sacrifice try in 352 at-bats this year.
Well, it goes back to what I said about knowing your players. A lot of times, to ask a player that can't bunt to bunt, you get that kind of result.
So 1 out. Partner at the plate. It's been a long day already for Pena. Remember, he was up about an hour and 15 minutes ago. He was up in the 5th inning when Lasorda was thinking about pinch hitting for Hershiser. And then he was up again. And so this is at least the 3rd different time he has warmed up today.
What's an ironic thing about this game is that you finally get a good matchup, a fastball hitter, Hojo, against a fastball pitcher, get the first base bunt, and you bunt.
1 out and the 1-0 pitch. Missing for ball 2. 2-0 on Gary Carter. And there is Sandy Carter, Gary's wife.
I think Gary may have confused the Dodgers in the sense that they all say his power is on the inside half, yet he went to right field. He's shown them he is willing to sacrifice power and hit the ball the other way. So Pena figures, well, that pitch on the outside part of the plate that normally is a pitch that he will pull for double play is now a pitch he's going to hit the other way. Well, maybe you have to do something differently.
Foul, 2-1.
Dempsey just came into the game as a catcher. Johnson with good speed at first base, 23 stolen bases. You have to keep that in mind. It's very difficult to come in for late inning defense, particularly as a catcher.
And it's 3-1 on Carter.
Of course, if leads are any indication, they usually are with base runners, Hojo's not going anywhere. I mean, very small lead. Of course, I threw to Dempsey for years. Doesn't throw like he used to, but quick relief, usually an accurate arm.
There goes Johnson. The pitch is a strike. The throw way offline and hits him. So Johnson with a stolen base, and the count will be 3-2 on Gary Carter.
Most catchers, especially catchers that are on the bench, don't have a chance to warm up. Rick threw a few tosses, but he didn't throw any tosses to second base. And sure enough, a short hop. And the Dodgers are lucky because if this ball doesn't hit Johnson, it might be in center field, and Howard might be on third base instead of second.
Three and two with one out. 4-3 Dodgers. Bottom of the eighth inning. In the air to left field. Playable for Gibson. Johnson remains at second, and 2 down now. And Wally Backman coming to the plate. So Carter stymied here. The game one hero flies to left. 2 down in the eighth. And Wally Backman coming to the plate. And again, following this game, college football, you'll see either Ohio State against Indiana or Washington against Arizona State next. Wally Backman, 1 for 3 today. Good success against Pena, 4 for 8 with 2 walks in his career. In this series, 1 for 9. And Len Dykstra has come out into the on-deck circle. He would hit for Myers. There's Nails. One and oh.
I'll tell you, if Backman drives the run in, I might be inclined to leave Myers in the ball game. He's only thrown 1/3 of an inning. He's your short man. You've already lost McDowell. And if Backman doesn't get a hit, Myers is still in the game anyway.
For the moment, they have Terry Leach throwing in the pen. Backman hits a drive to right center field. Shelby races back. It's by him. It dies on the warning track. The next time the game, Backman has a double.
Pitching is good defense, but you have to throw the pitches where the defense is. They're playing around in left center. You see Shelby with a long run, no chance to get to it. As I said before, usually when he hits fly balls, they're caught, but not when you don't make good pitches and you're out of position.
Dykstra now with a game tied 4-4, which means Myers is out of the game, and Leach will come in the ninth inning.
Yeah, with the runner in scoring position now, you've got to use Dykstra. Had Backman had a single, Davey Johnson may have elected to leave Myers in the ballgame. But now the Mets do have a depleted bullpen.
And the Dodgers do as well because Howell is gone. They go with Pena. There's Leach. This is one of those great postseason games where you've got to go to your key men in the bullpen, but then if it's tied, the longer the game goes, you're almost using your bullpen in reverse. You're using your middleman as your short man. Two balls and no strikes to count. Two and one.
This game has the earmarks of Game 3 in the 1986 season, and it was won by Lynn Dykstra on a home run off a fork ball from Dave Smith. And he drove in Wally Backman in front of him. Game 3, won in the 9th inning in 1986.
On a Saturday.
On a Saturday. Ron Darling was the starting pitcher that day.
Totals identical. Each team 4 runs, 7 hits, and 2 errors. 2 out. 8th inning. Backman at second. And 2 and 1 on Len Dykstra. Is Mookie Wilson. Lenny's wife, Terry.
Lenny looking down at Sam Palazzo, the third base coach. He wasn't even looking at him. You know he's hitting here. Sam looking at Backman at second base, paying no attention to Dykstra, which means he's wailing away, obviously.
3 and 2.
Pretty plain and simple. Has not getting got to change up over, hasn't got to break the ball over, just right after you. That's great if you're making good pitches, but today is not an easy day to throw the ball where you want to. That was a pretty good swing.
Still 3 and 2 on Dykstra.
This is a situation with a winning run on second base that you have to make your pitch. You have a base open. Dykstra can hit as well as Wilson, so if you don't make your pitch, you can sometimes gamble. You walk Dykstra and then try to make the good pitches to Wilson. You do not give in to a hitter in this situation.
Terry Dykstra's reaction on the last pitch. Oh, boy. Three and 2 with 2 outs. Ball 4, 3-2 changeup to put runners at first and second and bring Mookie Wilson to the plate. The Dodgers sent Pernoski to the mound. They have a Roscoe in the bullpen. Wilson is a switch hitter. And also, Brian Holton is in the bullpen. He is the right-hander. Wilson, as a right-handed batter, hit .282 this year. Lefty, .311. So there's really not that much of a difference as Pernoski goes to the mound. But enough of a difference that he wants Orozco. He wants Wilson to come up as a right-handed batter. So Pena is gone. And Jesse Orozco will make his second appearance in this league championship series, coming in to face Mookie Wilson with runners at first and second and 2 out in the 8th. So Shea Stadium in New York as Jesse Orozco comes in to pitch. A wild, wild game. Now, we're going to take a look back here. Here's Jay Howell. What do you suspect that substance is on the bill of his cap, Jim?
Well, I don't know if it's dirt or it's the fact that when you put pine tar, it's just like if you picked up a pine tar rag and then you put your hand in the dirt, it would stick. The dirt would stick to your hand, and you go to your hat, which is a nervous reaction. Or I doubt if you would put the pine tar there. It's much easier to hide it in your glove, or in between the fingers or inside your glove. So that looks like the remnants of dirt after you've gone to the pine tar. And what the pine tar does on a day like today, it allows you to have better feel of baseball. Now, it is illegal, though.
The rosin is the only legal substance that you can put on the baseball, unless it's dirt. The only abnormal substance.
Bart Giamatti in conference there with Ed Vargo behind him. And it's our understanding, and we'll get this clarified shortly, but there'll be a full evaluation after the game in terms of exactly what the substance was, and again, how it will perhaps impact Howell's future in this series. And as I say, that will take place after the game, and we've got a football game to follow, and Al Troutwig's in the studio, so whatever happens, you'll find out about it as soon as we know anything. Meanwhile, back to the game itself, which is not a bad one. 4-4 tie, bottom of the 8th inning. Mookie Wilson hitting right-handed with Backman the go-ahead run at second. Len Dykstra at first, and 2 out. Ball 1 to Mookie, 1-0.
When Orozco pitched for the Mets, he had a habit of falling behind on balls up and away to right-handed hitters early in the count.
One and one.
It's so interesting. Invariably, I'm sure Mookie hit off of, look at Ben Hines and the Dodger anxious bet, but Mookie hit off of Jesse in batting practice, inter-squad games, but the advantage goes to the pitcher. I mean, the mean batting average was like 248 for National League hitters this year. So percentile-wise, percentage-wise, or whatever, the advantage does go to him, but he does fall behind hitters.
Off-speed, hit into right center for a base hit. Backman comes in to score, and the Mets lead is 5-4.
Pitchers and catchers are trained to get beat with your best stuff. And that, to me, was not Jesse Orozco's best pitch. Fastball, slider, straight change. And this looked like a straight change.
Looked like actually a hanging curveball, possibly. Something up in the strike zone, exactly where you don't want to throw it. But you got to give this man credit. Oh, yeah. He jumped on a high pitch, and not a quality pitch for the go-ahead run.
Jeffrey, and that hit him. He's hit by it, and the bases are loaded.
And the Mets got a break, because if that ball doesn't hit him, it's by him, and Dykstra scores.
Dodgers got the break. Yeah.
The Dodgers got the break, right. That's the break for the Dodgers. If that ball doesn't hit Jeffries, it's certainly by Dempsey, and Dykstra walks home.
On the foot, on the toe. And Davey Johnson is out to take a look at him.
And Davey, of course, is thinking down the road. How about tomorrow? Let's get this guy in. Let's freeze his foot if it's not already frozen from this weather. Now, I could put Elster at short, I could put Johnson at third, and you really don't hurt yourself defensively. Another angle of him getting hit. Ow. Wally not too happy, having doubled in the tying run and scoring the go-ahead run.
So it's 5-4. Bases loaded with Dykstra at third, Wilson at second, and the hobbling Jeffries at first. And Keith Hernandez at the plate. Eighth man to bat for the Mets in the bottom of the eighth inning. 5-4, New York. 1-0. Looking ahead to the Dodger ninth inning now. Woodson will lead off. Then Gibson and Marshall. Woodson is in the number 2 spot. And again, with McDowell and Myers gone, Leach has been warming up, and I believe David Cone is in the bullpen right now. It is Cone throwing in the Mets pen. 2-1. There he is, the one-time author, throwing in the bullpen. You think there have been a few storylines today? Speaking of authors.
Nobody in the script for today's game, I'll tell you that. And have that kind of discipline is to know what you want to hit. If it's not in that zone, you lay off it. Take your chances with the umpire.
Bases loaded, 2 out, 3-1 the count. Six to 4. To the mound, Karanowski. Two up is Strawberry. And coming in is Ricky Horton. In the eighth, Mets 6, Dodgers 4. Ricky Horton in the pitch. Darryl Strawberry comes up with the bases loaded. They've taken Jeffries out of the game. He was hit by that pitch. And Kevin Elster will go into pinch run for him. So he's in second. Mets lead by 2, and Horton works on Strawberry, who hits his foul down the line and right, and the count is 0-1. Strawberry, the 9th man to come up in the inning. The Mets in the inning have scored 3 times on just 2 hits. Dodgers have yielded 3 walks and hit a batter along the way. 1-1. Ricky Horton came over, we mentioned before, make it 0-2 from the White Sox for Sean Hilligan. He was the White Sox opening day starting pitcher this year. Then went to the bullpen, and finally to L.A. And he misses away here in the count 1-2. Again, Woodson, Gibson, and Marshall when the Dodgers bat in the ninth. Two and 2.
get Darrell to entice him to swing at that little breaking ball, what I call a slurve off the plate.
A looper to shallow left field, and it drops in for a base hit. 2 more runs score, 8-4.
Ricky Horton on the fastball, a little looper, a parachute, a mortar shot to left field, and it's dropped. That is Strawberry's 6th hit in 3 games.
And his 3rd today, and he's driven in 3 runs. McReynolds 1-0 the count.
You have to play Darrell so strong. He's so deep because he's so strong that loopers are going to fall in. Now, nobody's going to catch that one.
That's right. Smaller hitters wouldn't get a hit like that. Possibly.
McReynolds up for the 2nd time in the inning. He started things with a walk. And, of course, that was the sequence during which Howell was thrown out of the game.
All of that in this inning, it seems like about 2 hours ago.
Down the line in left field, and that is just foul. And he broke his bat on it as well. The count 2-1.
Definitely 2 hours if you're a Dodger fan, the way this inning is going. I mean, you bring in your #1 reliever. He gets thrown out for foreign substances. Look, good angle, and this, you can see the way the ball will hook when pulled. It just barely hooks foul. He's out of the ball game, and then you go to Pena, who probably was the next best reliever they have, and he doesn't have very good control. You go to Orozco, who was not very good at all, and then you go to Horton, who gets mortared to left field. Not murdered, but mortared.
Two and two now the count.
And that really is Ricky Horton's most effective pitch to right-hander. He has an excellent changeup. Shows you the fastball, has to keep it down. Occasional breaking pitch.
Scoreboard has it 2-1. The count is 2-2 on McReynolds. And he hits a bouncer to third. And the inning is finally over. But the Mets send 10 men to the plate, score 5 times, and lead it 8-4. Michaels with Tim McCarver and Jim Palmer, Shea Stadium in New York on a wild and wet Saturday afternoon where the Mets come up with 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning and lead it 8-4. And David Cone comes out of the bullpen. He worked 2 innings as a starter in Game 2 and comes out of the bullpen to try to close the door in Game 3.
As Davy Johnson told us, David would have a possible appearance in this afternoon's game. And that went for last night also, since he worked only 2 innings and threw 40 pitches on Wednesday night.
Elster, who pinch ran for Jeffries, stays in the game. He'll play short, and Howard Johnson moves over to third with Jeffries gone. And so Cone now works on Tracy Woodson. Dykstra stays in the game in center field. And the pitch is a strike. Oh and 1 on Woodson, batting for the first time today. He takes another strike, and the count is 0-2. Cone, the other night, gone after the opening couple of paragraphs, is trying to write the climax today. And the count 1-2. Cone coming out of the bullpen to assume a starting role in May.
That was after 7 relief appearances.
The 2-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Blew it by him. Woodson gone. 1 out of the 9th inning. And Gibson coming up. Again, college football will follow. Another look here. Up and in on him. Again, Howell thrown out of the game. There are the games. You'll see one of those in your region next. Howell thrown out of the game. The word we get from the National League president, A. Bartlett Jamadi, thrown out because an illegal substance was suspected. They will investigate fully and further after the game, and it will be determined what penalty, if any, will apply to Jay Howell. Gibson hits it foul off to the right. And, of course, with our baseball game going into football, and Al Troutwig in the studio will let you know as soon as we know any further. No balls, 1 strike to count on Gibson. 0-2.
The funny thing with Jay Howell kicked out of the game today, the one guy that David Cohn apologized to last night before the game was Jay Howell for his remarks about Jay in the column, the famous column now, that was distributed throughout the Dodger clubhouse Wednesday before the ball game.
One and two. Hooking foul, still a ball and 2 strikes on Gibson.
Tell you, there has been no batter's box since about the 3rd inning. All that stuff to soak up the moisture around home plate. So the batter's box is obliterated, but not the memory of this game, huh? This has been something.
This game is about 3 hours and 40 minutes old at this point, in the top of the 9th. 2-2. Game 4 tomorrow night. Game 5 now is Monday at noon Eastern, at 9 in the morning Pacific. Mets trying to go up 2 games to 1. 2-2 to Gibson. Popped up. Elster. 2 out. Marshall coming up. The count. Again, early on, the Dodgers. Hershiser on the mound. A 3-0 lead. Looked like money in the bank. 0-2 the count. Actually, the count is 1-1. The board had it 0-2, and Mike Marshall said, wait a second, what's the count here? And Joe West put up 1 finger on each hand. Well, what did he put up?
Well, 1-1. Try again.
It's like a game show. It's 1-1, I think.
Like you make the call.
Yeah, right. Forget that. I don't know what any of that means. I think it's 2-1. 2-2. Hernandez drifting back. Might have a play. No, about 3 rows back. So still 2 balls and 2 strikes. to center field. Dykstra had trouble but makes the catch. One of the big heroes was right there. Wally Backman drove in the tying run, scored the winning run. As the Mets take the lead in the series, 2-1.
There's a guy right there who was out of a job when the season started. 2 years ago, he hit .320. Tim Temple, the other second baseman, was given the job in spring training. Backman hit 180 through May 22nd, and has come back to be certainly the hero of this ball game, or one of them.
So the Mets take the lead in the series, winning today at Shea Stadium by a score of 8-4. Of course, football to follow and a report at halftime on the follow-up to the Jay Howell incident. The Mets win it by a score of 8-4. Al Michaels along with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver. So long from Shea Stadium in New York. Coming up next, ABC's college football features the Ohio State Buckeyes as they take on the undefeated Hoosiers of Indiana.
When he gets in a row, gets in a rhythm, he's much tougher. Usually throwing as hard in the ninth as he does in the first.
Breaking ball, missing, ball one. Where did that miss?
Well, it was high, but you know, you talk about that pine tar. Now, Tommy Lasorda says it doesn't affect or alter the way the ball moves. It gives you tighter spin on your curveball,
Certainly
which makes
it
your
does.
curveballs break a little bit more.
Slider, too.
And what if Gooden used it tonight and Tudor didn't? There'd be a clear advantage.
A little chopper to the right side. The runners will advance as Tuffle throws Gibson out. And down to third goes Sachs. Advancing to second is Mickey Hatcher. The Dodgers have runners at second and third. And Mike Marshall coming up. Marshall held hitless yesterday, but had 4 hits in the first 2 games in this series. He hit .277 during the regular season, and he led the Dodgers in RBI. So they have their big RBI man up there now. He had 82 during the regular season with runners at second and third. And the Mets infield will play back, so they'll give up a run on a grounder.
This is really, believe it or not, Marshall with having a good postseason series, 4 for 12, is the type of guy you want up because you can strike him out. He's a strikeout hitter. Now, that's not to say he's going to strike out, but constantly, in fact, this year, 97 strikeouts. I think the first time in the last 5 years he has not struck out over 100 times. So he can hurt you, but he can also help you if you're a pitcher.
0-2.
Jimmy, you've seen Dwight Gooden a lot more than I. Good to put a little bit of extra on his fastball when he needs it.
That's what he's done the last 2 pitches. All the great pitchers are like that. You get a runner at third base, less than 2 outs, there's no assurity they're going to score.
What is this, Minnesota? Here's the 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging. The Homer Hankies have come east.
Well, actually, Al, you know what they are?
Strikeout Hankies.
Daily News strikeout Hankies.
Hankies, huh?
David Cohn autograph models or what?
Bad ball, the fastball. 3 straight fastballs to Marshall gets him.
Shelby can run. He stole 16 bases, was caught 5 times during the regular season. Joey Amalfitano sending down the signs.
To carry your point farther, and you mentioned it in games past, nobody picks you up when there's 2 outs. I mean, you have to do it. You make an out, the inning ends. So it's a truly clutch hit.
Pitch out, nothing doing.
Shelby with 16 steals, so if the wrong guys get on, it's going to be a very difficult night for Gooden to pitch well. And I think one of the reasons we've seen his ERA go up on a yearly basis is guys are taking advantage of his inability to hold runners on. The high leg kick.
Dodgers break out on top for the 4th straight game, and there's a balk. Gooden is called for a balk, and so Shelby goes to second before the pitch. Count remains 1-0. And Harry Wendelstedt umpiring at third tonight, putting his arms up.
He balked 5 times during the regular season, and you have seen the Dodgers really take the psychological game right to Dwight Gooden and the Mets. Psychology of the stolen base, in my opinion, more important than the stolen base itself.
1-1. Here's the ball.
Now, he has to have a discernible stop. Ha! Oh, you know, it's really hard, and you can go out and argue that call, but I think what umpires are calling this year, if you bounce. In other words, if you come up and you come down and go right back up, that's what they're calling. If you pause like you did there, it's not a balk.
In the dirt, and moving to third is Shelby, and he's in there. It's off the glove of Jeffries, but not far enough. Amalfitano right there to tell Shelby to stay put. As the ball trickled off the glove of Jeffries, but in the neighborhood, and Shelby remains at third.
I mean, think of the psychology of trying to beat Doc Gooden. You know he's got a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Take another look at this curveball in the dirt. Carter does what he's supposed to. Gets in front of it, but the ball just kicks out too far. And again, if you're a good base runner and Shelby has great speed, you have to take advantage of it. Because what it does, it takes the curveball away from Gooden. Maybe he doesn't take it away from him, but as a pitcher, it makes you throw it a little bit less forcefully.
Next pitch missing, ball 3. Scored a wild pitch. So Shelby with a single, to second on a balk, to third on a wild pitch. 2 out, first inning. Dodgers on top 2-0. Squib foul, and the count 3-2. Curve. Jay Crowd, as is customary with 2 strikes, and particularly customary with Dwight Gooden, looking for the strikeout. And they get it on a curve, but the Dodgers get 2 in the first, and after a half, it's the Dodgers 2, and the Mets coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention.
The 85 series and the 87 series makes another postseason appearance tonight in a Dodgers.
Leading off number 33.
And then Tuesday, if there is a 6th game at 8 Eastern time, 5 Pacific from Dodger Stadium, a 7th game would be played Wednesday. Jeff Hamilton to lead off for the Dodgers. Hamilton, Griffin, and Tudor in the 2nd inning. Hamilton hit .236 during the regular season. Hamilton benefited from the absence of Guerrero, even though by the time Jeff took over, Pedro had moved to first base anyway, and there it is, the Dodgers in the 1. Tudor with a career average of .155. Without a hit as a Dodger this year, but overall, hit .085, counting his Cardinal figures. And look at that. In magic marker, well, Howell is still alive. But that's to honor Jay Howell, who was suspended for 3 days. And the count 1-2. And we detailed that on the pregame show, and I'm sure you've heard about it, but there it is. Magic markered in on the sleeve of John Tudor. Fouled away.
I mean, Gooden is one of the few pitchers that has as good a fastball as he does a curveball. And probably something would make that curveball a little bit better would be pine tar. So to say it doesn't give you an advantage. Not at all. I mean, it does.
Sure that J.H. and John Houseman because they're earning it tonight?
Didn't think of that. 2-2, got him swinging. Gooden sets the Dodgers down in order at the end of an inning and a half. 2-0 Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Poor, reticent, and reclusive by the media. I asked him how he'd like to be perceived.
Well, the best way someone could think about me would a guy that would go out there and, you know, no holes bound, just whatever it takes to win is what I'll do. You know, if it means I have to go out there and play hurt, then I'll do that. Whatever it takes to win a ball game. If it means that I decide to play a couple more years and I have to start cutting the ball, I'll do that too. I don't necessarily respect the pitchers that are doing it now, because some of them have the ability and they don't need to do it. But I'll do whatever it takes to win.
Well, very revealing there, and also we want to place that in its proper context, especially in light of the Howell suspension. He said that before the first game of the playoffs. Strawberry hit a grounder to the right side, and Hatcher throws back to Tudor, and it's off his glove, and Strawberry is safe at first. So Hatcher makes a nice play to get to the ball, but Strawberry legs it safely to first, and the Mets have the leadoff man on in the second inning.
You're right, Al. It was a nice play, but it was the wrong play. Hatcher had a similar dilemma yesterday when Hatcher went off the bag to field the ball, and the Mets tied the game in the 6th inning. Steve Sachs has an easy play, and the pitcher could become a first baseman. If a pitcher's there in time, you're a first baseman, you stretch off, and it would have been a much easier play for Steve Sachs.
Well, that's the difficult thing about it. Hatcher, not a regular first baseman, doesn't really know that Sachs is going to be there. It happened yesterday, it happened today, and you make an easy play a difficult one, and that's why Strawberry's is down at first.
And again, that's what we talked about yesterday in regard to the right side of the infield for the Dodgers. First base defense. It's been a problem for them. Stubbs is their best defensive first baseman, but made 9 errors in the last 23 games down the stretch. And Hatcher, one of the stunt men, an extra man, moved around, but gets the start at first base in this series.
Not to mention the shortstop situation with Dave Anderson on the DL. Sharpison has to play shortstop. Did yesterday. Didn't have any bearing on the game, though.
Hatcher gets an error on the play, and McReynolds pops it up, and he's going to be 0 for 12 as Sachs is there to make the catch. So 1 out with Strawberry aboard on the error at first base. Gary Carter coming up, and just to again talk about the Tudor interview, because John, as you saw, actually said he would cut the ball if he had to. We did the interview before the first game of the playoffs, and it's not as if we're bringing it back having done it today in light of the Jay Howell suspension.
There are a lot of pitchers who feel exactly like John Tudor. They just don't say it on national television.
Exactly. Carter hits one into left field for a base hit. The Mets' first hit. Strawberry will stop at second. And so the Mets have 2 on with 1 out, and Tim Tuffle coming up.
Well, it's interesting how yesterday's game can sometimes formulate how you play a guy. Carter went to right field yesterday. Griffin normally would be playing him to pull. He's playing him a little bit more up the middle. So therefore, adjustment yesterday affects today, and the base hit goes into left.
That your organization has no quarrel with the decision. My question is Will Howell, through the players,
missed 4 games, and I think he's going to have a major part in deciding this playoff.
You're including yesterday's game,
yes.
of course. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the umpires did what they're supposed to. The rule book says if you have on your person or in your possession anything that's a foreign substance, you get ejected. They did their job.
It seemed to me from Fred Blair's answers that he was going to suggest to the Rules Committee this winter to change that particular rule.
Sachs goes. The pitch is a strike. The throw to second. Too late, and so Sachs has another steal. He singled, stole second in the first inning, and came in to score. And for Steve, 2 steals tonight and 4 in the playoffs.
The first time he stole, Gary Carter had a shot, but not on this one. Sachs steals second easily.
And I think it goes back to what Mel Stottlemyre said when he came out. He said, if you try one of those slide steps, got behind the hitters again, he said, don't worry about the runner. Even though he's very important, you got to get the hitter out. And again, Gooden has the type of stuff. You don't want him to steal second, but that's a lot better than have that happen to walk hitters and get behind him.
Like he did Hatcher in the first inning.
Sachs is going to third, and Gibson hammers it foul, and Steve had a good jump that time as well.
And that's the one variable that Doc really needs to work on, and that is he's got to get a little bit quicker to home plate. I mean, again, it's that magic number.
4 steals, and he's 1 shy, as you saw, of Davey Lopes' record. Sachs succeeding Lopes as the Dodgers' second baseman a few years back.
Davey Lopes, one of the outstanding base runners. I mean, not only in numbers in terms of stolen bases, but in percentage. And of course, that's a key. When you look at Strawberry, 29 and 14, thrown out way more than the league average.
One out, third inning. Dodgers lead 2-0. Sacks at second. And the 1-2 pitch to Gibson. He checks his swing, and it's high, ball 2.
Gibson, one of only 2 Dodgers to hit home runs against the Mets this year. He did it off Doc Gooden here at Shea Stadium on a curveball.
And no doubt that curveball came down and in, which is where he likes the ball. Good low ball hitter. Throw that curveball away. Hitter can't wait. Get it in right where he's going.
3-2. Gibson began this series clean shaven. He's 1 for 12 now, so he has affected the old police lineup look.
Of course, normally he says that he only shaves on getaway days when they travel. But after that tough loss, he went right to the razor blade.
Dodger Bluebeard.
Sacks at second. The 3-2 pitch coming to Gibson. Sacks on his way to third. The pitch is a strike. The throw is not in time. So Gibson strikes out, but Sacks steals third. And for Steve, 3 tonight and 5 in the championship series to tie Lopes' LCS record.
Look at Carter come up on this pitch. Stays down as long as he can, but you can't stay too long or you'll let the runner steal. But makes an excellent throw. Once again, I'll tell you what, I admire Carter's patience. I mean, all year long, he's only thrown out 21% of runners, which is about 9% lower than the rest of the league. He gets a little bit upset because he knows he made a perfect throw, but most of the time, he just says, heck, I make a good throw. I did throw it away. They don't hold him on. I have no choice.
Marshall grounds it foul, and the count is 0-1.
You make an interesting point about the curveball because a catcher comes out from behind the plate much differently with 2 strikes on the hitter. You've got to stay back. If the ball's a strike, you want the strike. You don't want the runner. Your first priority is to get the strike and then throw the ball, and that's what Gary did. And that's why he got the strike, too. He had to wait back.
Tries to check his swing and fouls it at the plate, and it's 0-2 on Mike Marshall.
Well, if you go back and it's right before, look here, look where Judge Renner, the umpire, is. So if you come up, it's rather obvious you're going to block him. And here, this is just a fastball where they like to pitch. Marshall is in and off the plate and try to get him to chase that pitch. Or curveballs down and away.
Half swing, got him. So Marshall strikes out for the second time. Dodgers strand Sacks at third. 2-0 LA in the middle of the third. And for those of you on the West Coast, breakfast at Shea, I suppose. 9 o'clock in the morning as Gooden takes outside ball 1. 1-0. American League over. If you missed it today, the A's won it, swept the Red Sox. 5 days off, and they begin the World Series Saturday as Gooden strokes a single into left field. Dwight Gooden, the pitcher, leading off with a single in the third, and now the top of the order, Mookie Wilson.
Now batting.
Gooden, not only a good hitter, but he hits John Tudor well. He is now 5 for 10 lifetime against Tudor.
You know, it's an interesting thing about hitting Tudor. I mean, everybody says his changeup is his greatest pitch, but most likely you'll get a fastball to hit, and I'm sure that's the pitcher's mentality. It certainly was with me. I mean, with Louis Tiant, why look for all that junk? Because I knew I couldn't hit it. I'm sure Dwight goes up there looking for a fastball. He got one, and he hit it hard.
Don't look for a pitch you can't hit.
But most hitters do.
In the fourth, a 7th game, Hershiser and Darling would be the matchup.
Yeah, Darling said he should never have played the game yesterday. Hershiser said you had no idea one curveball would break, the other one wouldn't. And here's a guy that just pitched 67 in the third scoreless inning. Had a pretty good idea that almost all those curveballs were breaking back then.
Breaking pitch for a strike. But Darling wanted more perfect conditions. Yes, because he was born in Hawaii. Figured.
Yeah, but he went to Yale. And, I mean, I can imagine springtime baseball in Yale, just like yesterday.
Probably why he doesn't like it.
Sid Fernandez hoping for the same kind of Hawaii weather tomorrow,
That's right. Little looper into shallow right center. Sachs does a 360 and can't make the play. A base hit for Hernandez. So a soft single to right. And the Mets had the leadoff man on in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Baseball players on the bench have a name for this. They'll yell out, "He hit it like you threw it." A little lazy curveball off the end of the bat, and Sachs can't get to it.
Of course, as a former pitcher, you don't deserve that type of reaction to a good pitch, but that is baseball, and we've seen a lot of flares the last couple days.
Strawberry takes inside, ball 1, 1-0.
Look how the Dodgers scored their 2 runs in the first. Infield hit for Sachs, a walk. Second and third, John Shelby delivers the broken bat base hit, 2-0 Dodgers.
To deep right, and gone.
The sound of the ball off the bat has changed with that swing.
Put a clock on that baby leaving the park.
Sonic boom. Well, that's 21 off the left-hander. The last guy that even came close was Reggie Jackson a few years ago.
I'll tell you, I don't know if 21 during a season, 20 actually during the regular season is a record, but consider this. Babe Ruth had 19 off left-handers in 1927, and Roger Maris in 61, 12 off left-handed pitchers.
You want to hear it again? After this pitch, we'll play back the crack of the bat in natural sound. To deep left center field. Gibson going all the way back, and this one's gone. First hit of the series for McReynolds. Kevin McReynolds, who hit 27 during the regular season, makes it 3-2 Mets, just like that. Natural sound, Strawberry's home run.
That sound, almost no sound. That's what a home run's all about.
Carter now tries to bunt, and the catch is made by Tudor. So back-to-back shots.
Song came on Bully Bully, and here are two examples of Bully Bully. The inside fastball by Strawberry hit a ton, and the same with McReynolds.
And now the victim, Tudor, starts things in the 5th inning, and he tries to pull a Strawberry, and the count is 0-1.
Remember that song, Bully Bully, don't you? You were a Bully Bully fan, weren't you?
Blue Bayou is my song. Linda Ronstadt's version.
Roy
What
Orbison.
that was, yeah, Roy Orbison.
There was Blue Bayou right there. 0-2. There may be another Blue Bayou coming up here.
Good mix of pitches, even though, as I said, Good usually gets better later in the game. And if you ask why, it's because he gets better rhythm. Of course, what's going to make it even easier in this ball game is if he gets the right Dodgers and keeps them off the base.
No balls, 2 strikes the count. Tudor followed by Saxon Hatcher here in the 5th inning. Tudor strikes out for the 2nd time. Gooden has struck out 6.
Motion with the ball, get your arm up. He'll raise the ball over his head. He has really dropped down on the last 3 pitches, and that usually means that you're favoring something. And of course, one of his great assets is the fact that he is a control pitcher. Very few walks.
Ergo, high fastball. Usually what you do, everything, you end up leading with your elbow and everything goes high.
0-1. I think that was the first ergo in the history of baseball broadcasting.
So was discernible before this year.
Ergo, the count is 0-1. Leave it to McCarver. 0-1 the count. And Tudor, who earlier picked Wilson off, sends Jeffries back to the bag. Breaking pitch hammered into right for a base hit. Jeffries will go to 3rd, and Strawberry will come up with runners at 1st and 3rd. And the Dodger bullpen already depleted, of course, with the suspension of Jay Howell. They are now down to an 8-man pitching staff.
And that single was on that high curveball. We talked about he has to get it away. I don't believe he did there. And Hernandez is swinging the bat too well. Now look, he comes into the ball. Look at that right shoulder stay in there. The ball hangs inside instead of being away, and he just launches it down the right field line.
That's Brian Holton in the bullpen. Manhattan on a beautiful night.
The more often when you're a pitcher and you can hit the area where the catcher moves to, the more strikes you're going to get.
Sure.
And if he's sitting on the inside part of the plate and you throw it away,
right,
he has to reach for it. A lot of times it makes it much more difficult for an umpire to call that as a strike.
If he's sitting where that pitch was thrown to Marshall,
yes,
pretty good chance he's going to get it.
But it was up a bit, and breaking balls are not designed to be thrown up. They may be strikes, but an umpire a lot of times goes on design alone. If it's a breaking ball, he thinks low. It hangs high, you don't get it.
You don't get the call. A lot of times the batter will get pretty good wood on it to begin with.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't catch the ball either.
Right.
Shelby's first 2 hits were on fastballs, and it looks like Gooden's going to try to get him out with a curveball. 1 and 2, both of the strikes have been curved.
Breaking ball fouled off. Still 1 and 2.
Now he's set up for the fastball. Of course, you could say that about any hitter pertaining to Gooden's fastball. He's throwing him a bevy of breaking balls, and now the heat would be much more effective, you would think, than the first 2 times up.
Well, of course, as a former pitcher, he tried to pitch him in the first time, and he broke his bat, but he got a hit, and then he went away, and he got a hit on fastball. So
goes to a fastball, and it's hit foul outside 3rd.
But again, the assessment you have to make, were they good fastballs? Did I throw them well? Did I get them in a good spot? Well, I'll tell you what, if a guy gets a couple of hits on your fastball and you put that in your back pocket, you're not going to be out there very long. You have to reason why he got the hits.
1 and 2. Nobody out. Top of the 6th inning. Mets leading 3-2. Marshall at first base. And the 1-2 pitch to John Shelby is a breaking ball away. 2 and 2.
It still appears that he is struggling. He's not in a good groove either with his curveball or his fastball. It doesn't look like he can throw the ball down and away or consistently get on top of his curveball.
Gooden has already thrown 13 pitches in the inning with nobody out and a man on. Marshall at first base, and 2 and 2 the count on Shelby. Got him. Breaking ball. Strikeout number 7.
catcher, Mike Sosha.
And now look where this curveball goes. Not only did look at the break, look at the glove of Carter. A little bit off the plate, and it almost looked like that curveball backed up.
It did. By backing up,
he's going the opposite direction. The curveball should go from right to left from a right-handed pitcher.
That backup breaking ball is so hard to gauge as a hitter because it's so unpredictable. You predict it to come down and in, it stays away. That's why it's tough to hit, and that was another one to Sosha.
0-1 the count.
Now, if he threw a little more three-quarter, you'd call that maybe trying to backdoor your breaking ball. In other words, start it outside the plate and catch the outside corner, which is really what he's doing. I'm not sure if he's doing it intentionally.
Oh, 2.
Really what makes good so difficult to hit is the different planes as a hitter you have to hit off. You have the curveball starting at your head and ending down about knee-high. As you look at what we were saying, pretty much even. Tonight, of course, he's thrown a few more fly balls than he normally does. But you have the curveball going down, you have the fastball going up, and the appearance is that even his low fastball has a little bit of lift to it. Not lift, movement left or right.
Anticipating a strikeout. They wave the towels, and the 0-2 pitch is grounded down to Hernandez, who goes to Elster for 1. Nice play by Kevin. The throw was slightly offline to turn the double play. And at the end of 5 1/2, 3-2 Mets.
See Tudor switching the seams of the ball in his hands. He throws 2 fastballs, one with the seams that has a tendency to sink, the other one across the seams as he's holding it right there. He had the ball a little more light. Goes up, runs away from the right-handed hitter.
Line to center field, over the head of Shelby, but he backs up and can't make the catch. McReynolds is being waved around third. He'll score. Carter is on his way to third. Jackson's relay is offline. 4-2.
Normally when the balls get to center, it does not slice. This one does. John Shelby turns to his, you can see turning him to his right. Now the ball slices back to the left. The ball that he should have caught. He's an outstanding center fielder. Had he turned the right way first, I agree with you, Jim. But that's another reason that you don't have a guy like Carter giving himself up and trying to push McReynolds to third. In the process, Gary ends up on third and drives in a run.
A triple for Carter, 4-2. Dodgers go to the bullpen. Brian Holton coming in. Third, and of course it's Strawberry fourth. And Kevin McReynolds struggling 3 for 20 in the series in the 5 spot. They move Greg Jeffries from number 2 to 6th in the order. Gary Carter does the catching. Howard Johnson is on the bench, and Kevin Elster is the shortstop tonight. And the pitcher is David Cone, who lasted 2 innings in Game 2 Wednesday. Tim Leary, a one-time Met, a Met draft choice in 1979. Now a Dodger trying to beat the Mets. The inside pitch on Tim with a pinch hit. Gibson, Shelby, and Marshall in the Dodger outfield. Hamilton, Griffin, Sachs, and Hatcher in the infield. Mike Sosha back of the plate. And here we go with Tim Leary on the mound. Before a crowd that was as raucous and animated as any I can ever remember in Los Angeles before the game. Certainly before the game, they were more raucous and animated than most I've heard during games.
That's what Tommy said before the series start. We know they're going to come out. Let's get them involved, and they are involved.
Len Dykstra to lead off, and the first pitch of the game is taken for a strike. So it's almost as if the Dodger fans, having sat back and watched the 3 games in Shea Stadium, pick up that audio level as their club returns home.
Everybody's got to have a game plan, and the Mets' game plan is to try to keep the crowd out of this game. And if they score early, that may do it.
Dykstra, who homered yesterday, takes a pitch away, and the count is 1 ball and 1 strike. Right now, the entire field is encased in shade. The sun is really no problem, but it's still a little bit difficult for the hitters because the lights have really not taken effect. 1-2.
Well, that's what Mike Smith, that's what he said was so important, is you just saw a nice sinking fastball, is if you do get ahead now, the hitter does not see the ball. If you pitch quickly, you have about 3 or 4 innings until really the lights will take effect. It's a big advantage for a pitcher.
Dykstra right on top of the plate. They try to pitch him inside, and he thought that ball was a ball, but clearly that was a strike that came back over the inside part of the plate.
The 1-2 to Dykstra is lifted foul. Dykstra and Wilson, and those of you who follow the Mets know this, and we've detailed it to some extent, have platooned for the better part of the last 3 years, though Dykstra was playing a lot in June and July and August, and then Wilson took over in September. They've been platooned in the series, but Mookie now has an injured thumb, and Dykstra in the lineup tonight. Not necessarily because of that particular reason, but it does make Davey Johnson's choice easier in that regard. He's got a man with an injured thumb in Wilson, and he's got a real fresh body in Dykstra.
Well, earlier in the year, September 2nd, Leary threw 4 home runs. 2 by Kevin Elster. He's playing shortstops tonight. 1 by Greg Jeffries. He's at third. And then another one by Mookie Wilson. But if you go back to yesterday, 3-run home run and then a double down the line for Lenny Dykstra. So it's a pretty good reason to have him in the lineup.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Game 6 just underway in Los Angeles. 2-2, and there was the split finger.
Yeah, and that's the problem he's had. I talked about the innings, and the reason he pitched so much is that last year he was 3-11. I mean, just imagine going from 3-11 as you take another look at the split finger. See the ball tumble? With that slow motion, you can see what the hitter's looking at. The key to that pitch, of course, is the fast arm action. You think it's a fastball, you commit yourself early, and you swing a lot of balls in the dirt. More effective when he gets ahead.
2-2 pitch is fouled away. The other night, Leary in relief in game 4, and of course with the dramatics with the home run by Gibson and Hershiser coming out of the bullpen for the save. It will be forever forgotten that Leary was called on in the 12th inning to try to save it, but couldn't. He gave up a couple of singles, then got Jeffries to fly out, and out he came. 2-2 is grounded foul by Bill Robinson. So Dykstra still at the plate here in the top of the first, to be followed by Backman and Hernandez. And there is Keith.
As we talked about earlier, he's had some mechanical problems. He's a very mechanical pitcher. His left shoulder is the key. If he opens up too quickly, he does not throw the ball. Then we go back to the innings. 360 innings in 1 year. 90 in Tijuana, was 9-0. 30 in spring training, and 200 plus during the season.
Fouled away again. So Dykstra making Leary work. And there is a most happy fellow right now who was looking on Sunday night.
When you said that, you see what he did?
Right. Right. Well, we're sneaking up on him from that angle up above.
Well, he's had
now he knows he's on,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Tommy's always looking for the camera, is what it amounts to. Dykstra hits it sharply, and it's off the glove of Hatcher, and he can't recover. Had Mickey been able to barehand it after it had popped out of his glove, he might have had a play with Leary covering it first, but then he juggled it again, and that was that. So Dykstra's on, and Hatcher gets an error.
Looks like the ball hits. Yeah, well, I agree. Ball hits him on actually the hand. I don't think he got a glove on it. The ball hit above the glove. Short hop. Wicked one hopper. Could have been scored a base hit. I agree, Jim.
Of course, what makes it harder, too, is that it's coming out of the crowd, and the same thing that the hitter goes through or the infielder goes through, coming right out of the white shirts.
Now Wally Backman, who has been hitting in the 8 spot, and Davey Johnson shuffling his lineup tonight with Backman up in the 2 spot, and Jeffries down in the 6 spot, with Elster also in the lineup at shortstop.
Also goes back to that graphic I think we saw 2 games ago, which is that the Dodgers first baseman had more errors than any other first baseman group in the National League. Something like 23 errors.
Right.
Dykstra, who had 30 steals, is going, and a perfect hit and run to left field, and Dykstra is on his way to third. So an auspicious beginning for the Mets as Dykstra reaches, and then on the hit and run, Backman slaps one to left for a base hit, and the Mets have runners at first and third with nobody out, and the meat of the order coming up.
In 1986, when you thought of the Mets in early innings, you thought of Backman at first, Dykstra at third. The two table setters getting on, and the Mets have failed to do that during this series, but they are trying to take the first lead for the first time. The Dodgers have scored first in every game thus far.
Keith Hernandez hit
231 innings. He struck out 213 guys, 5 and 6 last year. Not only does he have 4 pitches, he throws them from different angles, has maintained his poise, but in game 2 he balked, hit a batter, threw a couple of hanging sliders. Some balls weren't hit particularly hard, but he wasn't the real David Cone.
He was a nom de plume that night.
It was a conehead.
So he goes to work on Sachs, Hatcher, and Gibson in the bottom of the first inning. Low ball 1-0. And the crowd very much into the game, as we mentioned during our pregame segment. Here in L.A., not only is the crowd normally less vocal than it would be in most other cities for the most part, but it's a very late arriving crowd. Tonight they came early and noisily, and it's 2-0.
I almost get the feeling this crowd is like the crowd in Shea when you get 2 strikes on a hitter. They all stand up and they start cheering for the strikeout. I mean, they're ready to crown the kings, so to speak.
3-0.
Pitched one night in Milwaukee, had an 8-0 lead, 2 outs in the ninth, 3-2 on the hitter, and the crowd, what I thought the opposing crowd, were on their feet. Now those are great fans, and this is what the Dodgers fans are tonight.
And Sachs is on 4 pitches. So Stottlemyre and Johnson look on as Sachs, who stole 42 bases during the regular season, leads off with a walk.
Well, very good mechanics from Dave Cone. And I think if you're sitting on the bench and you're Mel Stottlemyre or Davey Johnson, the hardest and the worst angle to really see a pitch is from the bench. You're always yelling, where was that pitch? And a couple of close pitches. So far, Paul Runge's had a tight strike zone.
And Cone starts the game by missing with his first 5.
If you've watched this series, almost every different umpire's had a different strike zone. And the key, of course, that's all right. Just be consistent.
6 in a row, and Carter goes to the mound. And so does Stottlemyre. Well, Cone the other night admitted he was very distracted by everything that happened. And listen to this crowd. Tonight he doesn't have that same distraction, but he starts by throwing 6 pitches out of the strike zone, and now he has to battle this.
Yeah, so you'd have to wonder if the newspaper article isn't still on his mind.
Well, it's also something, I mean, as a guy that started, I don't know how many games I started, but you only go 2 innings. They're used to pitching 7 or 8 innings, even though he did get in game 3 to pitch the 9th inning. You're out of rhythm, and he certainly is here. Now, he has thrown almost every pitch has been a fastball a lot of times, and it's tough to do. You got to make yourself throw another pitch.
Yeah, but not 2-0.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah. You may start off the third hitter with a breaking ball to kind of get things back into sync. But now it's 2-0 to Hatcher, and I would imagine Hatcher's taking. You got to make Cone throw a strike here.
Sachs, who has stolen 5 bases in the playoffs, goes to second as it gets by Carter, and Sachs takes the turn at second and stops there. So the 7th pitch is a wild pitch.
You know what Davey Johnson has to, I mean, really, this is what managing is so difficult. He's got to make, I mean, through his observations, a decision, how long do I go with David Cone? He's going to use the whole staff today if they're able to pitch. I mean, this ball, usually don't throw a fastball 57 feet. A breaking ball will occasionally bounce short of the plate.
Well, Davey's determination of how far to go will be determined on how ineffective he is and the way he's ineffective. He's thrown 7 straight balls.
Hatcher takes all away, and finally a strike, 3-1.
If you get a couple of flares and then a walk or something like that, and the Dodgers score a couple of runs, you're apt to stay with Cone. But if he walks 2 or 3 hitters in a row, then I think he's more inclined to be yanked.
Ball 4. They appeal no, says Wendelstedt. So 2 walks. Runners at first and second, and listen to the hand for Gibson. And he still has that J.H. for Jay Howell on the sleeve. Even though Howell had the suspension reduced and is available tonight. And this is the home uniform, so he put this one on before the game. Takes a strike and the count 0-1.
A couple of questions that need to be answered. Number one, really, how well has his leg recovered from yesterday? If he hits a ground ball, it could be a double play, a strikeout type of hitter, 127 on the year. But he can hurt you with one swing, as we saw the last couple of days.
Bunts in the air. Big break for the Mets. Cone makes the catch. Gibson angry with himself. Unable to get the runners over here in the first inning on a curious move to begin with. So 1 out, and Marshall the batter.
More than curious, Al. Very, very strange.
I was just opening up the live discussion here.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you.
Well, again, I mean, you just don't imagine that to happen. And again, maybe his leg hurts. He took batting practice, seemed to be healthy. But if you're pitching, I mean, that's a blessing. Here's a guy that hit a 3-run home run, won the game 2 days ago. Doing you a favor.
That could be the thing that gets Cone back on track.
Here's Marshall, who hits a high fly ball to left field. And here comes McReynolds, and he makes the catch. So keep that in mind. The Gibson bunt could be the critical point early in the game. You never know the way things evolve, especially in this series. But oft times, a tone is set with a very early play.
It almost looks like a sacrifice. I mean,
Oh, yeah, it's a sacrifice.
for the Mets.
Yeah, it's a reverse sacrifice.
Ooh.
Well, you'd think it would have to be a sacrifice, in as much as you know he can't run at 100%. He's not really bunting for a hit. Here's Shelby, who hits it in the air down the line and curling foul out of play. 0-1.
So if his leg is bothering him, wouldn't it make more sense for him to try to get a base hit so he wouldn't have to run hard rather than bunting to get the runners over? It doesn't make any sense.
Of course, if you're sacrificing, you don't have to run hard. And
That's
if you hit
true,
a ground
but
ball, you're going to have to run hard because it's going to be a double play if you look at that way.
But if Kirk Gibson is sacrificing in the first inning, he shouldn't be in the lineup if he's not capable of swinging the bat. I mean, if that's the reason he sacrificed to get to first, why play him?
Certainly not in the number 3 spot.
No.
0-2 the count. Sachs at second, Hatcher at first, and Shelby hits it foul again.
See, there's a lot of theories by managers. I mean, 60% of Kirk Gibson is better than 100% of somebody else. But Gene Mauch always said, at least I know what that 100% is if I don't play a guy that's hurt. And I think that's your point here. I mean, if he can't run on a ground ball, how's he going to play left field?
0-2 to Shelby. Checks his swing, and the count 1-2.
See, now 1 and 2, David Cone can now use the rest of his pitches. 2 and 0, he couldn't do that.
Got him. And so the Dodgers bunt their way out of the inning. And at the end of 1, it remains Mets 1, Dodgers nothing.
See, Sachs is about halfway. Now, Gibson's not running. You see that in the bottom part of your screen. So the play would have been to second base and first base. But with Cone's control problems, he's just happy to get an out.
At that point.
Yeah, right.
Here's Elster starting the second inning. Elster, Cone, and Dykstra with the Mets on top, 1-0.
It's the only way you can make that play is if you get some help because your back's to second base.
Leary misses inside. Now Leary threw 34 pitches with Cone on deck. 34 pitches in the first inning. In the second, now 1-0 Mets in Game 6. Dodgers win tonight. They win the pennant. Mets win tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 Eastern. Game 7. Grounded toward the hole. Hamilton is there, ranging to his left and throws it by Hatcher and into the photographer as well, and that gives Elster second base automatically. So Hamilton throws it away. The Mets have the leadoff man at second with nobody out. And Tommy Lasorda watches David Cone come to the plate.
I mean, here's a guy that's played well. He did make an error early in the series, but simple play, takes a couple of crow hops and just throws it away. I mean, well out of the reach of Mickey Hatcher at first.
Twilight in Los Angeles.
It's like an example of future and others to come.
And Tim Leary goes to work as dusk approaches in the third inning, and he's already worked pretty hard. The Mets with the ace and the queen. And
they have done that to Keith Hernandez for the last month and a half because he has been the biggest contributor in the Hearts game. And if you played Hearts, the queen is 13 and all the hearts are 1 point. So that's why they stick that queen of hearts next to, or the queen of spades next to Hernandez's name.
And furthermore, you can deal me that hand in blackjack anytime you want.
Yes, sir.
Strawberry takes a strike as we start the third inning. Strawberry, McReynolds, and Jeffries.
Some pretty illustrious names. The first 8 guys that have a better home run ratio. I think Killebrew, Mays, Ruth,
Ralph Kiner,
Fox, Jimmy Fox,
Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt has done a terrific job in the inside pitch, and you would expect that out of Michael Jack. 542 home runs lifetime, and you have to wonder what his fate is next year.
Exactly. That's one of those stories that kind of gets lost in postseason. Everybody concentrates on the playoffs and the upcoming World Series. One of the stories to be thought about, mulled over during the winter. And certainly Mike will be the first guy mulling it over. 2-1 to Strawberry is high, ball 3. 3-1. Strawberry walked in the first inning. The 3-1 pitch is Leary's 55th of the night and hit foul into the second level. 3-2.
And what makes that number so important is it's a lot of pitches in the first place, but we talked about the bullpen. You have Hershiser going tomorrow. He doesn't throw between starts. He's throwing every day between starts the last couple of days. So, as you said, Timmy, in the opening, 111 pitches, comes back in relief through yesterday. You can't assume he's going to be the pitcher he's been in September. You'd like to have him be that if you're a Dodger fan. You just don't know, so.
Strawberry hits it into center field for a base hit. So Darrell with his 9th hit in the series, the most by any member of the two clubs. The Mets again with the leadoff man aboard. They've gotten the leadoff man on in all 3 innings tonight, and up comes Kevin McReynolds.
Talk about that curl of Darryl Strawberry. You see that bat pointed over the helmet? Now that means he's got a long way to come, so he's got to be quicker than the normal hitter. He doesn't hold the bat straight up and down or flat. He curls it. So he's got further to come, or farther to come, and he came far enough on that
far
swing.
enough, yes.
Right.
Well, that's the dilemma of having a guy like Strawberry lead off. He can steal bases, 29 steals on the year, can hit home runs, 39. He didn't hit for a high average this year, I think mainly because Hernandez was out and it seemed like he got distracted. You do so many things, and then when you go 3-2, you got to throw him a strike. And of course, when you're struggling, it's one of the most difficult thing for a pitcher to do is convince himself that he has to throw the ball over the plate. Tim Belcher talked about how he was never successful, had all these wildness problems in the minors until he realized they had good enough stuff to win in the major leagues.
He reaches out, and it's off the glove of Griffin, and a big break there for the Mets. As Strawberry goes to second base, look for the moment when Griffin went up as if he'd come down with the ball.
I'll tell you, it looked like his windage was too much toward third base. It looked like the ball hit him on the side of the glove, the heel of the hand. A split finger fastball. It's going to be a base hit. But we'll take a look and see exactly where Griffin missed that ball. It appeared to bounce off the heel of the glove, which means that he either jumped too soon or jumped too far toward third base. See, that ball hits him on the heel of the glove. Very strange. I think he thought possibly that it was hit harder than it was. Consequently, he jumped too high. That ball hit off the end of the bat, but a break for the Mets.
So an infield single, singles by Strawberry and McReynolds. Runners at first and second, nobody out. Jeffries, the batter, takes outside. And for the moment, nothing doing in the Dodger bullpen. They've been up in the first and in the second. And we talked about the difference in managing tonight. Tommy Lasorda having two men throw early on in both the first and the second. And one batter away, I'm sure, from more action there if Jeffries were to get on. 1-1. In fact, it might be less than a batter. Sun going down, and the Dodgers trying to send the sun down on the Mets, but they trail 1-0 in the third inning. One and two.
That was hittable, and he missed it. You saw Jeffries nodding that, bumping that head up and down. You'll see that often when hitters get their pitch and they miss it and foul it back.
Well, the velocity and the move. Watch this ball run. Runs away. We said Jeffries with a home run in early September, right 2 days after he was called up. And if you watch and he hit 6 home runs, 4 right-handed, 2 left-handed. You watch the replays. I mean, he can go out and get the ball out over the plate with great bat speed and pull it.
Stays alive, 1-2. Leary started his career with the Mets. Racked by injury early on, then went to the Brewers. Pitched well on occasion there, but then he was traded to the Dodgers in the Greg Brock deal, and Jim detailed what he did in winter ball and developing the split finger. And this year, a 17-game winner.
When George Bamberger was the pitching coach and manager of the New York Mets, he loved Tim Leary, and when he became the manager of the Brewers for the second time, he got Leary in a trade.
2-2. In fact, the Brewers at one point wanted to try to get him back.
Well, yeah, after Tijuana. He commuted from Santa Monica. He went 9-0 down there. He would pitch every 4th or 5th day. And they said the border guards kind of looked at him funny when because they don't have shower facilities. He just put his uniform on in Santa Monica, drive down to Tijuana and pitch.
That'll get you stopped at the border. 2-2 pitch is lifted to right field, deep but very playable. Strawberry tags at second. McReynolds is also tagging. Marshall makes the catch, and the throw is cut off as Strawberry advances. So Darrell goes to third. McReynolds remains at first. And with one out now, it'll bring up Gary Carter, who had a golden opportunity in the first inning, coming up with the bases loaded and 2 out, but struck out.
Two for 10 lifetime. And of course, if Leary makes the pitch or pitches like the one he did to strike him out, I could see why. Good fastball right on the outside corner. Kind of an unusual year as you see Holton on the left and the right-hander and Ricky Horton on the right. Carter, 7 home runs in his first 17 games, hit another one about a couple of weeks later, then went 225 at bats without a home run, trying to get number 300.
He had 7 home runs by April 26th and ended up with 11.
He's tried to make some adjustments. He's standing closer to the plate, but It looks to me that he's still, he's still pulling out. He can't keep that left shoulder in. And so you see the slightly open stance, and what he tries to do is like what Brian Downing of the Angels did. First move will be back towards the pitcher.
McReynolds goes, and it's a fly ball to shallow center field. Strawberry is tagging, but Shelby is there to make the catch, and Darrell has no chance. A little pop fly, not nearly deep enough with McReynolds going. So he retreats to first, and now Elster comes up, and Carter has left 5 men on in his first 2 at-bats.
Well, it's a good theory by Davy Johnson. What he's trying to do is get Gary Carter just to concentrate on making contact. A hit-and-run play, you don't often see it to a power hitter, but Gary Carter a different hitter now. McReynolds running, he takes a look, and that's what you want to do if you're on first base. Take 3 steps and look for the ball. He found it. You can't trust the second baseman and shortstop to give you the accounting of where the ball is. Frustration continues for Carter.
The Mets have already left 5 men on tonight, and now with 2 out and 2 on, Elster comes to the plate. Elster earlier this season, 2 homers in a game off Leary. And the count is 1-0. And here in a situation with a base open, even though it's not first, there's no reason to throw Elster anything even half decent with a pitcher on deck.
Well, he threw him 2 split-finger fastballs. I talked to him before the game, and he said they were just, I didn't have a good one. Reminds me of Jack Morris, when early in the year Jack was struggling, and he said they're just kind of spitting at my split finger. They kind of ignore it. And basically, the problem Larry's having tonight, doesn't have great control with his fastball.
And he's behind 2-0.
Interesting situation. You mentioned with the base open, even though it's not open at second base. Psychologically, managers don't like to intentionally walk a base runner into scoring position. If he's there, there'd be no question that they would walk Elster here. But from a psychological standpoint, it makes a little sense. You don't like to intentionally walk a base runner into scoring position. That's what you'd be doing if you walked him intentionally here.
And he lines one to the gap in left center. Shelby races over, can't make the play. Strawberry scores. McReynolds will be held as Griffin cuts the throw off on a double by Elster. So 2-0 to the number 8 hitter. And Tim just talking about the fact you really don't want to walk him in that particular situation because you're putting the extra man in scoring position. But Leary down the middle on a 2-0 pitch, and the Mets take advantage and lead it by a score of 2-0.
And the Mets are probably glad that the hit and run didn't work. If McReynolds, say Carter hits an anemic ground ball back to the pitcher, well, Leary's plays to first base, you got second and third, and most certainly you walk Elster. But not in this situation. So the hit and run backfiring, and Elster, they're forced to pitch to him, and he delivers.
Well, 2 things backfire, too, because you don't get the number 8 hitter. If you get Elster, you're out of the inning. Now, even if you get Cone, at least the Mets are to the top of the order in the 4th. So a big hit, 2-0. Cone is the batter with runners at second and third, and he fouls it back, and the count is 0-1. And again, Cone, during the regular season, hit 150. He was 12 for 80. Lasorda looking on as Leary faces his 18th man in 3 innings. The Mets have already been through the order twice. And it's squibbed right into the glove of Hamilton. So Leary continues to struggle. At the end of 2.5, it's 2-0 Mets. Cone has been sensational. In particular, not ours, folks. Trust me, not ours. Game tomorrow night to determine the pennant. 2-0 New York with Len Dykstra leading off in the 4th. Top of the order, Dykstra, Backman, and Hernandez, and Gary Carter, who's left 5 men on base tonight, shaking his head.
I think that's what you alluded to when you said the old Gary Carter in the first game. They were playing him. He just hasn't swung the bat well.
Popped up back of third. Hamilton is there. And out number 1. So Dykstra gone, and that'll bring up Wally back.
Of course, a catcher can be much more instrumental than just swinging a bat, and Gary has done an excellent job. When you look at the Mets pitching staff, hasn't thrown a lot of runners out this year, but they don't really hold him on that well. But when you have a pitching staff that leads the National League in earned run average, Mackey Sasser and Gary Carter have done an outstanding job blocking balls, calling the pitches.
Backman takes a strike and the count 0-1.
It almost looks like we're seeing Tim Leary maybe very strong from being resting. He hasn't pitched for 9 days, maybe getting into a better rhythm.
Outside of that relief appearance the other night.
Yeah, well, I mean,
sure.
Talk about
1-1.
Really pitching, and a lot of times the starting pitching, and what's so nice about being a starter, that if you can minimize the runs early, you can get into a groove.
Seems to be in vogue in baseball nowadays that guys are changing their names. I mean, think about it. If you're a pitcher and you got a name like Leary, it'd be like Bob Walk, you know, as a pitcher. Wouldn't you rather have a name like Early Wynn or something like that?
That's hit into right field for a base, and Hatcher just froze on it.
Yeah, he did.
It was amazing. You know, we talked about this a couple of times, and not to beat it to death, but the Dodgers at first base have had that revolving door. And again, Marshall started the season there, and they moved Guerrero over there, and they ended up with a Stubbs-Hatcher combo. And Mickey just freezes here.
Well, again, you're just like base running. If you lean the wrong way, and he did, you don't have a chance. And you know, I talked to him before the game because he got in the way of some.
We really have short sleeve shirts.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have dared to wear short sleeve shirts on Saturday and Sunday.
It was 43 degrees Saturday and about 86 this afternoon as Marshall fouls it back, and the count 0-1.
I know that irritated me. I said from short sleeves to long underwear, and then Randy Myers shows up in about the 8th inning with short sleever on.
Right.
It's like Steve Stone the year he won the Cy Young Award. I mean, it didn't matter if it was April or September, 30 degrees or 90 degrees, short sleever.
Mike Marshall leading off in the bottom of the 4th inning with a count 1-1. Marshall, Shelby, and Scioscia with the Mets on top 2-0. If there's a game 7, it's tomorrow night. It's 8 Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. It would be Oral Hershiser against Ron Darling. If there's not a game 7, as Lindelstadt at first base says he came around to the count 1-2.
Mike Marshall becomes a very important hitter with Gibson possibly hurt. As you take another look at the swing. Definitely a swing. 7 hits already.
Cohn drops down with a breaking pitch, grounded foul. If there isn't a game 7, then there'd be a World Series game here on Saturday. Oakland at Los Angeles.
See, he stayed, and Mike Schmidt said he has a good fastball. He has stayed with it. He had trouble with it in the first inning, but he stayed with it. And I think you'll see him a lot more breaking balls as the game progresses. There's a split finger.
Right down there, his 5th split finger of the game by an unofficial count. And that's 6 in a row retired by Cohn, and his 2nd strikeout.
So you're just swinging at the arm action, and the ball tumbles way out in front. As Timmy said, most of the time, this will be a great angle. You swing over the ball, about 4 or 5 inches. Even though you're following him, you could see he didn't pull his head. Went right with it. Ball just dropped faster than he could get the bat into that zone.
Well, it stands to reason that you'd swing over the ball because of the tumbling action. To be effective, as you mentioned earlier, Jim, the split finger is usually out of the strike zone down, and it gives you the appearance that it's going to be higher than it usually is. And once you commit, it drops, and it drops late. Therefore, you swing over the top of it.
Strike. 0-1. Funny thing about Shelby, he's a guy who doesn't walk a lot, but he's drawn a couple of very key walks in this series, in particular the one in front of Scioscia's home run.
Well, Timmy, you said that's the key to that particular incident.
So did Doc Gooden.
Then Doc Gooden comes back and says the same thing. He said, I throw the same pitch to Scioscia, the fastball, because that's usually his best pitch, but I try to throw it in a different area. And I think the fact that he walked John Shelby, felt he had to establish the strike zone again and didn't maybe throw it as well as he could. And Scioscia hit only the 4th home run of the season.
And Shelby gone on strikes, and that's 3 strikeouts for David Cohn. So 2 down in the 4th inning, and Mike Scioscia coming up.
Oh, just great mechanics. I mean, look at the chin to the shoulder, the intent on his eyes, and then he just throws the ball right by him, and the way he did that was he hit the inside corner.
Fifth inning at Dodger Stadium in Game 6. Mets leading 2-0. Strawberry, McReynolds, and Jeffries with Tim Leary on the mound. And Darrell standing in, having walked and singled, and he has 9 hits in 24 at-bats. 375 during the playoffs. Fifth inning. Tim Leary has struggled through 4, but at least the Dodgers are very much in the game. It's 2-0 Mets. Just to button up that Jay Howell thing, Jim, I talked to him extensively before the game, and as I said, he was very concerned about the perception. He was very concerned that people would think that he went out there to cheat, when in effect he went out there and did what a lot of other guys do all the time.
Well, that's true, and when I said on the air that I never did it, I wasn't trying to take a holier than thou situation, but I played with some great pitchers that didn't either, and apparently it's become very prevalent. I think they have to really consider maybe a rule change. He did break the rules.
And he admits it.
Yes, oh, exactly. And, you know, it's kind of like speeding. When you tell the officer, well, everybody else was speeding, why am I going to get the ticket? And they don't have a lot of compassion. I think that here's a guy that had a great year, and maybe people do have a different perception of him when they shouldn't.
Well, the other night you called it jaywalking. That was the best analogy. Strawberry draws the walk, and you can bet the bullpen will get up again as Tim Leary starts the 5th inning with a walk, and Lasorda's going to take a little walk himself as McReynolds comes up.
I think it's interesting to note from the Howell and Cone situation that after it happened, the Mets fans were forgiving of Howell, and after Cone apologized, judging from the reaction tonight, the Dodger fans are forgiving of Cone. I think that's very unusual.
Yep.
Well, they were both very honest, too. I mean, talk about stand-up guys.
Yep.
Cone said, I said it facetiously. I didn't think it was going to be written that way. Heat of an emotional ball game.
But still, in the playoffs, you don't find, you know, the masses as forgiving, I think, as the two towns have been.
McReynolds doesn't find that pitch forgiving as he drills it to deep left center field and gone. And it was almost inevitable because Leary's been on a tightrope in each inning. And he begins the 5th by walking Strawberry, and McReynolds hits a 2-run homer to make it 4-0.
McReynolds looking inside. If you remember the last time up, Leary jammed him with the fastball inside. The Dodgers have been pitching McReynolds inside, and this time he goes up and looks for one pitch in one area, and again, this is after 4 balls to Strawberry.
Again, trying to establish a strike and really reestablish your confidence. As you can see, Tommy not very happy.
It's a similar situation after Gooden walked Shelby the other night. First pitch, Socia, boom, out of here. Tonight, 4 balls to Strawberry. McReynolds, boom, out of here. And it goes back to a pitcher being too cautious and too aware of the strike zone after he walks a hitter. So it's not necessarily the walk, it's what happens after.
And Peronoski goes to the mound, and boom, it's Leary out of here. 4-0 in the 5th inning in Game 6.
Just about everybody talks about how you have to pitch inside, but not after a base on ball to Strawberry. McReynolds, no doubt looking fastball, gets it, opens up, scores 4-0.
Well, that's a danger of pitching inside. All good hitters, you have to jam them. But the problem with that is that if you miss inside, it's a long ball. If you miss away, it's a single.
Leary winds up throwing 87 pitches in 4+ innings, gives up 4 runs, 6 hits. And Brian Holton comes into work here in the 5th inning. He'll face Jeffries with nobody out, and then Carter on deck.
Get away.
early rally cap for the Dodgers, who already trail 4-0 as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. And Tommy Lasorda looking at the bottom of the order coming up with Hamilton leading off. He'll be followed by Griffin and then Holt in spot, so the Dodgers are busy in the bullpen again. Fernando Valenzuela in uniform but ineligible for the playoffs. He's not on the playoff roster. As Hamilton lifts a soft fly ball to right field. Strawberry is there. One away, and Griffin coming up.
Had an interesting talk with General Manager Fred Clare about Fernando. Fernando with the shoulder problems, did some exercises for the first time in his career, has a home in Mexico and here in Los Angeles, and going to be doing them all winter. They expect him to be back throwing, get some arm strength. Same with Mario Soto. He's pitching down for, I think, Escogido in the Dominican Republic. May pitch, but he's down there with Phil Reagan, who I think managed their AAA ball club, and they hope to see, really, to try to do some things that'll get them back into the major leagues.
Griffin at the plate, up high. If the Dodgers win the pennant, I mean, think about it, even if they don't, just by winning the division, without the real Valenzuela this year, he was 5-8. And keep in mind, too, another thing we haven't even mentioned during the playoff series, when the year began, Don Sutton was the #3 starter. Hershiser was #1. The crowd now gets into it as Griffin runs the count to 3-0. And this is what has amounted to a recent Dodger rally. Cone has been that sharp. But Hershiser was 1, Valenzuela 2, Sutton 3. You got one guy who goes 5-8, and Don released in mid-year as Griffin takes a strike, and you're still able to win the division.
Of course, Don being released after he did get injured did not score a lot of runs for him. And he got to the point where really 5 or 6 innings, and if you get up in years, and I went through this, and you don't get a lot of runs, it makes it very tough to pitch.
3-2 line to center field. In comes Dykstra, makes the catch. Len Dykstra got a good jump on the ball. And Lasorda has watched Cone retire the last 10 in a row. So 2 down, and now Lasorda has to not go to the bench. He opts to send Holton up here.
What makes this, excuse me, Jimmy, what makes that play easy is what you talk about all the time. Griffin doesn't hit the ball very deep or very hard, play shallow. Very likely the ball is going to go over your head and your first move is in. Dykstra, the better defensive outfielder between Mookie Wilson and Lenny.
Now, had Griffin gotten on, you would have seen a pinch hitter here with a man on and a chance to get back into the game. But with 2 out, bases empty, Lasorda lets Holton hit. Bryan this season rarely came to the plate, just 10 times, and he was 0 for 10. And he struck out on 7 of those occasions.
You'll also most likely, if the game doesn't really get close, and even if it gets close, probably see Jay Howell tonight for an inning.
That's wrapped to left field, shallow left, and in for a base hit. So leave it to Bryan Holton without a hit all season to pick up the Dodgers' 2nd hit of the night.
After David Cohn had retired 10 in a row. As a matter of fact, after the walk to Mickey Hatcher in the 1st inning, only 1 base runner has been allowed by Cohn through the next 4 2/3 innings until the hit by Holton. That was a single by Hamilton in the 2nd.
In his career, he had 1 hit. 1 for 20 during the regular year, so a base hit here. Hernandez can play back of him. Sachs at the plate, and the pitcher 5-0-1. Well, the crowd is trying to get back in the game. The Mets said tonight it was very important to get off to an early lead, which they've done, take the crowd out of the game, which they've done. And now the Dodgers try to scramble back. 2-0.
You have to remember he has not thrown from the stretch for about 3 innings, so it takes you a while to get a little bit loose. I don't know if I would assume he's going to be talking about Sachs, but he ought to get an awfully good pitch to hit here because Cohn's going to throw right to the center of the plate.
It's amazing how even Tommy's saying make the ball be down, but even how the crowd overreacts during the playoffs. Who in the world would cheer a 2-out single by the pitcher when your team's trailing 4-0 during the regular season?
Well, they cheered the 2-0 pitch to Griffin, which was ball 3 earlier in the inning.
Right.
And Sachs takes ball 4. So with 2 out, Holton a single, Sachs a walk, and it brings up Mickey Hatcher, who has walked and flied out, and Hernandez goes to the mound to settle down Cone.
What do you do now, Timmy? I mean, Hatcher walked 4 times, 197 at-bats during the regular season. You take a pitch, have him swinging?
I say go to hacking right here. For the same reason McReynolds was hacking after 4 straight balls to Strawberry. One swing can put you back in the game.
Got the corner. Fastball for a strike. 0-1.
2 schools of thought to that. One is that the pitcher will remain wild. The other school is that the pitcher is going to have to throw a strike, and that's what Cone did then.
Grounded to the right side. It's a base hit. Holton is being waved in. Here comes Strawberry's throw home, and Holton is safe.
Strawberry, very tentative. I mean, when a pitcher, a long reliever, who has had his first hit all year, scores that easily, then you're playing a tentative right field. Darrell had 2 assists all season long. Both were on throws to first base. That ball was hit sharply to right field. If it can't be any closer than that, then you have to think that Strawberry was too deep to begin with, or he didn't charge the ball. He appeared to charge the ball, which
It's his left leg. Once again, he lifts it up. It seems that he's trying to get the ball lower in the strike zone and went after a high fastball.
And as we mentioned earlier, it seems that, and you can see him favoring that left leg, which is wrapped, and he's really a front foot hitter tonight, and he normally is not like that. I'd like to clear up one thing. I said that Darrell Strawberry had 2 assists. He had 4 assists this season, 1 on a throw to home when a pitcher was running in Atlanta, and 3 times a 9-3 double play on a hit and run play where the runners all the time on all 3 occasions were decoyed at second base. So a guy with that strong an arm should have more assists. That's my point.
Cone in the 6th inning to lead things off, 4-1, to be followed by Dykstra and Backman. Gibson's condition tonight really begs a question as Cone takes low. The question is, the Dodgers knew coming in tonight they had to win 1 out of 2, so their option was, does Gibson play tonight? And of course, he's involved in this decision too, obviously. Does he play tonight, or does he rest tonight and play if there is a 7th game tomorrow? He has elected to play, but tonight he is 0 for 3 and obviously hurting.
You know, they did have some options. Danny Heap has played very well as a regular, 4 for 44 as a pinch hitter, hitting over 300. So, but I think you would have had trouble getting him out of the lineup.
Yeah, but keeping him in the lineup tonight, does that hurt his leg even more and hurt the Dodgers' chances for tomorrow night?
Oh, that's true.
That's the question.
I would say that he's obviously going to aggravate it tonight, but it probably wouldn't have healed for tomorrow night either.
That's true.
And I think the Dodgers said it very well today. He says, you know, we can win 1 game without Kirk Gibson. Now, whether they will is another point.
2-2 to Cone. Is squibbed up the first baseline, fielded by Holton, who throws him out. 1 away. Holton has retired the 4 men he has faced, and it will bring up Len Dykstra. 4-1 Mets, and if the Mets win, the decisive 7th game would be played tomorrow at 8 Eastern time and 5 o'clock Pacific if necessary. It's the Mets and the Dodgers in Game 7, and it would be Ron Darling against Oral Hershiser.
I think what it really comes down to, Tim Leary, I mean, he did have a kind of a rough 5 innings or 4+ innings, but he's been the least supported starter on the Dodgers. I mean, they average under 3 runs a game for him.
Dykstra hits one to the gap in left center field. Gibson goes over gingerly to cut it off. Dykstra on his way to second, in there head first with a double.
I talked about run support for Leary. It's really under 4 runs a game, so the same thing is happening tonight. And
Len Dykstra really taking advantage of the elements right there. That was outstanding base running by Dykstra. Watch Gibson go to his left, and one doesn't know how he would have reacted and thrown the ball had he been healthy. But see, you can see by that throw, he's throwing off his front foot, too. He wanted the call, but he didn't get it. Good base running by Dykstra.
In the Dodger bullpen, Ricky Horton gets up again. So Len Dykstra with his first hit of the night and his 4th hit in the series.
Well, it makes that play so easy. The play is in front of you. You don't have to get any help, or you'll get some help from the first base coach. He'll tell you maybe to go, but you can pretty much make up your mind, especially if you're an aggressive runner like Lenny.
The Dodgers have been buying some time here. Here comes Peronoski to the mound. Now you've got Backman, the switch hitter, but he's really a left-handed batter because he rarely comes up right-handed, and there's a tremendous disparity. So in effect, he's a left-handed batter, and then you've got Hernandez and Strawberry, and that's why you've got Ricky Horton in the bullpen, and probably very shortly in the ballgame.
One last thing that I'd like to say about that, the question that comes to my mind about Kirk Gibson is, who do you choose to tell him he's not playing?
Right.
That might be the reason he's in there.
Maybe Too Tall Jones.
Yeah, you have to hire somebody to tell him he's not playing.
Yeah. Maybe about 4 guys. In from the bullpen will come Ricky Horton. Ricky Horton comes in to pitch for the Dodgers with 1 out and Dykstra at second base in the 6th inning. Horton appearing in his 4th game of 6. Worked yesterday in New York. Came in to strike out Hernandez and gave up a single to Strawberry. Now Backman, and they turned Backman around, which is what you like to do. As a right-handed batter this year, he had 257. As a left-handed batter, 309. And actually, that's not bad for Wally, because normally the disparity is much greater than that.
Well, he really had a terrific year when you consider he wasn't going to play. Tuffle was the starter. Talk about intensity. He has to play with that kind of intensity. You see his career stats, much better from the left side.
Last year, he had 086 against left-handed pitching. And of course, he doesn't come up right-handed that much anymore since the acquisition a couple of years back of Tim Tuffle. They basically shared the spot.
Right, and you don't want to pinch hit Tuffle in this situation because you're going to go for defense with a 4-run lead, and Backman a slight edge, or make it a 3-run lead, a slight edge over Tuffle defensively, a little more range.
And also later in the game, you have a 3-run lead, so you have a little bit of a cushion here. The 2 ace relievers for the Dodgers would really be Pena and Howell, although they do have a Roscoe out there, but chances are it's Pena or Howell with the game on the line. And if you remove Backman here, obviously you don't have him later on. He grounds it to the left side, fielded by Hamilton, looks the runner back and almost handcuffs Hatcher at first base. But Mickey holds on, and there are 2 down. Oh, no graphic necessary. Joe D.
Well, this is a fairly routine play. We talked about Hamilton. Good range, soft hands, and you see his arm. He looked at second base to Dykstra, and that's the difficult part of the play. Ball must have sailed, or is one of those in between where you don't want to really catch it with your glove up and you get handcuffed. And as a catcher, Tim, you know with that pitch, you're going to receive it with your glove down, and it just moves.
You know, that shot at DiMaggio should be put in a time capsule. I mean, that's a slice of Americana. 1988. Joe D. at a baseball game with a bag of peanuts. One to Hernandez is outside, ball 2.
Had surgery early this summer. Nice to see him back in good health. Always looks like he stepped out of the cover of Gentleman's Quarterly.
Strike, 2-1.
I don't think any American athlete has ever carried himself with the grace after his playing days were over that Joe DiMaggio did. And has. And is and will.
Fouled away in the count 2-2.
Talk about Horton coming in and pitching yesterday. They acquired him for a very good young pitcher. Sean Hilligus went to the White Sox to trade for him. He said he pitched the entire spring, did not give up a run, and then just got in an awful bad rut. All his pitches were up. He can't do that. He has to keep them down, away from especially the lefties.
What he's trying to do here, he's trying to get to the World Series for the third time in 4 years. Twice with the Cards, 85, 87, and here with the Dodgers.
I'll tell you, that's an interesting shot, too. Sosha, we've seen him do it several times tonight. Hold the glove inside and then go outside at the last moment. He may be thinking that Hernandez, Carter, and some of the Mets are peaking, and that's how you prevent peaking. See, he's setting up late here.
He sets up away, and Hernandez hits it foul off to the left. Still 2-2 on Keith.
That pitch before, he had the target inside, and at the last minute, floated outside.
Say the best big catcher I've ever seen him moving is Carlton Fisk. Now he'll move one way and then go the other way. Here, Sosha just waits, as you said, to the last moment. And that's important. You have to see the glove. I mean, otherwise you're going to throw the ball in the middle of the plate.
3-2.
You do that especially with the runner at second base, because while he may not have the signs, he may be telling the hitter where the location is of the pitch. One of the two makes it a very favorable thing for a hitter. So if a catcher sets up too early, then it's a simple hand sign for the runner at second base, in or out, and that gives a hitter a very big advantage.
3-2, hit foul again. Mets got a run in the first, one in the third, and then two on a home run by McReynolds in the fifth inning. Dodgers with one in the bottom of the fifth. Mets lead 4-1, and the Dodgers are really fortunate it's that close, because the Mets left 7 men on base in the first 3 innings.
What allows Hernandez to have that type of stats against the left-handers? The way he goes into the ball. I mean, he's willing to get jammed just to make contact.
He's protecting away right now, but as far as Horton is concerned, Horton's best pitch is the slider and fastball away.
Right. And to the right-hander, the changeup, but the left-hander more or less takes that pitch away.
And this is away, and it's in the air to shallow left center, and dropping for a base hit. Dykstra comes in to score on a soft single by Hernandez. And it's 5-1 Mets.
Well, that's the aggressive baseball. Dykstra stretches a single into a double. Hernandez does what he does best, fights off pitches until he gets one he can hit. Did hit it hard, right on the end of the bat for a base hit. I'll tell you, they called it. Picked up the LA Times this morning. They said, we're going to have to be more aggressive.
Now Strawberry with a perfect night. 2 walks and a single, and he has scored twice. Strike, 0-1.
With those 9 hits, not only is he 1 shy of the National League Championship Series record, he's 2 shy of the Major League Championship Series record. Chris Chambliss, that remarkable 1976 against the Royals, had 11, and Marty Barrett had 11 against the California Angels back in '86.
The funny thing is, too, when you talk about series records in the League Championship Series, keep in mind it used to be a best of 5, and it was for the first 16 years of LCS play, and it was only in 1985 that they went to the best of 7 format. So those guys who did it before '85, that's particularly impressive. There goes Hernandez. The pitch is up and in, and they weren't holding him on, and so Keith says, I'll take second, and he does. Thank you very much.
It's an interesting contrast. You talked about Keith being out for almost, over 2 months with a right hamstring pull. He criticized Gibson for running yesterday. And here he goes himself. Now, he should have taken it, but if he hurts himself, turnabout's fair play, I would say. Makes it easily.
He criticized
not easily,
Gibson in a good way, too.
Yes.
You know, he said he would love to be on the same team as him, but sometimes you got to use your head. So that may be criticism, but it was complimented before the criticism.
No swing here, 2-2. But that's a terrific point you make, because that story coming out today, Hernandez, as you see, Keith going into second, talking about Gibson yesterday, and Gibson saying to Keith when he got to first base in the 9th inning, I think I injured it again, but he still sold second. Strawberry takes Paul, strike 3. And here's Hernandez stealing second with a 4-run lead, but to no avail as it turns out. At the end of 5.5, 5-1 Mets. In foul territory, Jeffries. And that's the second out. Well, let's see, you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 foul outs in the game tonight.
And that's an indication of great late pop on the fastball.
Yeah, and that's how he does it. We talked about how you can hold a fastball, the four-seamer, run it away from him, and if it's moving well, and it has been all night, they swing under it.
6 foul outs off Dodger bats. Strike to Socha. So 2 out, bases empty, and we are on the verge of a 7th game. 0-2. A strike away from a 7th game. One and 2.
And he's made it very simple. Fastball, splitter, very few curveballs. That was one right there.
He's made it very simple since that bunt by Gibson because he was on the ropes early.
And a base hit into right field. Hernandez was breaking toward the bag. One of those should I or shouldn't I. And Socha with a single into right field. First Dodger hit since the 5th inning.
Well, it just shows what really location of the pitch on the plate is.
Jay Howell is in the Dodger bullpen, if nothing else, just to loosen up, because remember, he's had not only a lot on his mind the last couple of days, but it's also altered his routine in keeping ready. So he wants to get in some throwing. As he works in the bullpen, Hamilton the batter, and he lines one into center field, base hit. And while he's working, he could also think about and dream about a 4-run Dodger rally to tie it.
And when you're trailing by 4 in the 9th inning, the best you can hope for is to get a chance. And the best way to get that chance is to get the tying run up there. And Mike Davis is going to be the pinch hitter. And if he gets on, the tying run will indeed be up there. Cohn getting down there. Boy, that ball hit like a seed back through the middle.
Now look at where the location is. You may not be able to tell from this particular angle. Throw it and duck. Of course, that's what they yell from the bench when they're getting on a pitcher. Ooh, that was a literal throw it and duck. But he's gotten a little bit, not lazy, but mentally lazy. 2 balls in the middle of the plate. And I think the reason he's gone this far is that he's been able to keep the ball out of that area of the plate.
Randy Myers throws in the Mets bullpen. 2 out in the 9th inning. And Davis fouls it away. 0-1.
Well, something we've almost dwelled on is the fact that when you have a lead, and he has a 5-1 lead, you have to make the hitter swing the bat. He goes right after him.
One and 1.
Mike Davis, a low fastball hitter. Poor year, under 200 at about 197.
Franklin Stubbs on deck if Davis keeps the inning alive. 2-1. And if Davis keeps the inning alive, Stubbs is pretty much an all-or-nothing hitter, certainly capable of jacking one out.
Well, 2 pinch hit home runs this year already, so of course he will not be hitting off of Dave Cohn.
Not at all.
Nope.
Fly ball left field. Here comes McReynolds, and tomorrow night these 2 teams play 1 game for the pennant. And Tommy Lasorda sends his bulldog, Hershiser, to the mound, and Davey Johnson counters with the Yaley Ron Darling. Tomorrow night at 8 Eastern Time, David Cohn. A shaky start in the 1st, a little wobble in the 5th, another tiny wobble here in the 9th, but goes all the way. Looking anything but a 20-game winner in Game 2, and looking very much like a man who won 20 in Game 6.
Strawberry Cohn.
Absolutely. As the Mets head for dessert, 5-1 in Game 6.